October 27th, and it's 6:11. This is a hybrid meeting, which means it's in person as well as Zoom. We have some people in Zoom, but the Board of Selectmen is present. Selectman Hull is present, obviously. Dr. Z and Ken Pacheco is present. This is being recorded. It'll be on YouTube. It'll also be on cable and Channel 9. Hopefully, it's being shown live now, if you have electricity. I'm going to ask everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And could you please remain standing?
Since our last meeting, the following Dayton residents have passed. Our condolences go out to their families, and we ask for a moment of silence for Thomas Cotton, 57 of Dayton. He was a lifetime resident of our town and a 1982 graduate of Dayton Rehoboth Regional High School. And also Michael Katz, 64 of North Dayton. He was an executive administrator. Thank you.
Thank you. So we don't have any scheduled hearings, but we have some scheduled appointments. But before we start the ones that are on the agenda, I'm going to ask that we have our emergency management director, Chief McGee, speak on a current situation in town regarding some trees down.
I need to just update the town on what's going on. As of right now, there's approximately 500 National Grid customers without power. I'm not sure how many TMLP, but there's a few in the north end on Spring Street, Forest Street, in that area that are out. The fire department, the police department, the highway department responded to approximately 43 requests for assistance between midnight last night and 4 p.m. today. Everybody worked well together. All those, I'll give a thank you to and shout out to the dispatch. Dispatch takes all those calls. Those are just the ones we respond to. There's many, many more calls that they take on top of that, so kudos to them. Right now, the current streets we have, I wrote down, we have Maple Street is blocked just west of Wheeler Street. There's a tree across the road. Chestnut Street is blocked, tree across the road. Wheeler Street is blocked with a tree and a pole across the road. Middle Street is blocked. The tree's been removed, but there's severe infrastructure work that needs to be done to the utilities on the poles. Spring Street, the tree's been removed, a large portion of it removed. TMLP's working on getting the rest of it removed to get the wires and the pole back in place on Spring Street. And Mill Street is currently closed. So I will say also that there's a lot of areas of town that have diminishing lanes. The upper end of Portland Street, a portion of the westbound lane is blocked. The Portland Street on the lower end near Pine Hill Estates, there's a little jog in the road. Tremont Street, there's a jog. So just, if you're out and about tonight, tomorrow morning, use caution on the roadways. There's cones out, but I've noticed around town in several places I've had to stop and put the cones back in place because people find them inconvenient or whatever and move them. So just use caution if you're driving around town tonight. That's all I have unless there's any questions. Trying to get an update from National Grid, but that's it.
Yeah, I can verify that Milk Street, that the tree is still down. In fact, I had to stop because I didn't know it was down. So I went the other way, and I saw a couple of cones in the road, and they were knocked down. I actually put them on the side of the road where Whitmarsh Lane is, and then I had to put them back when I realized that they were trying to stop people from going any further. Obviously, there's enough room for a car to go through that me and other people live in that area. But I want to thank you, your department, dispatches, the police department and the highway department for all the great work that have done and are doing. I know that, I think you guys were texting maybe earlier regarding some of the situations. I was sleeping, fortunately, but I appreciate the work that you guys and your concerns also. And I want to thank Mike Mullen for everything that he's done. And unfortunately, we had to close town hall because there were so many wires down and trees down, but we anticipate and hope to be open tomorrow. So, you had something, Dr.
Yeah,
Z?
I just wanted to add,
thank you to our police, fire, highway, and dispatchers. I wanted to echo the chairman and also thank you, Mr. Mullen and Mrs. Brady, for keeping everything running today. But also, I did want to add that because of the pandemic and the prep work that we did to have some personnel, obviously not all, be able to work from home, so there wasn't a blip in any services today. So I just wanted to remind the residents of that as well.
Selectman Hull?
I was wondering if, Mr. Pacheco, you would entertain a motion to provide a letter from the Board of Selectmen to the department heads and their people, commending them for their actions during this emergency.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that, but it's not on the agenda. Is that going to be a problem if we,
No, I don't believe so.
okay, I will entertain that motion.
I think
Selectman
that's
Hull.
fine, Mr. Chairman.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion that the Board of Selectmen send a letter of commendation to the Department of Public Works, Dayton Police Department, and the Dayton Fire Department, commending them for their actions during the recent emergency.
Friendly amendment, also
Sure.
the dispatchers as well.
Yes, and also our town, we could add the town administrator as well as,
Well, he's going to be writing the letter.
oh, he-
No, I'm just
okay.
kidding.
You can write, I'm sure it's not the first time he's written a letter to himself. And I also would like to add Ms. Brady. Ms. Brady did not have to come in today, and she did come in today, so that was
Absolutely.
very
I will
much
I will
appreciated.
second that.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Selectman Hull? Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. So again, speaking for all the board and the residents, we thank all those that were working hard to make our seats straight. Thank you.
Be
The next,
safe.
Thank you, Chief.
yes, the next item is the Better Group, Inc. Presentation. If you can come up to the podium.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me in tonight. My name's Anthony Garrow. I'm a Senior Vice President with Beta Group. Been there for actually 32 years this week. Hard to believe, it's gone by so fast. I head up our GIS and Asset Management Division. And tonight I'm going to run through a presentation that I prepared regarding pavement management, implementation strategies, and the benefits of developing a system. Another hat that I wear, I think it's great that you're recognizing the first responders. That's fantastic. As president of New England APWA, it's always great to see first responders recognized, so glad to see that tonight. It's great news. Okay, with that, I will get into the presentation, and I'll be taking questions at the end or during. I'm flexible, so just let me know if you have some questions. Just raise your hand. I'll be happy to stop. So next slide, please.
Sorry, the mouse is being a little clunky.
There we go. Thank you. Yep. All right, so the overall goal in developing a pavement management program is to develop a comprehensive database of roadway infrastructure, the conditions of the roads, and it's going to allow you to be proactive rather than reactive. It's going to give you tools to plan ahead, a great deal of data, attribute information related to all the roadways within the community. We also get into the different types of repair strategies or treatments. There's a wide range of technologies out there that you can benefit from. I like to show this picture here where you can show, believe it or not, this is a town line where you see the double yellow, where Town A did not practice preservation, Town B did. So you can see, you know, the benefits of developing a pavement management program ultimately can save you money. I know you're really interested in developing a capital improvement plan, so you know all the data is going to really provide you with the ability to develop a plan based on data, based on the science. Next slide, please. Can't do a presentation on pavement management without showing a deterioration curve. So this is a standard federal highway deterioration curve. Really, this is really the basis of everything we do within our program is based on deterioration. So ultimately, you know, you have a road today that's in perfect condition would be a score of a 100. A road that's in poor condition would be closer to 0, so it's a 0 to 100 range, 100 being the best, 0 being the worst. But ultimately, you get to a point with roadway conditions where it's going to deteriorate to a point where it's going to cost you more money to repair. So the goal here would be through the capital improvement planning process and using the data would be to develop a plan to help you avoid spending money when you get further down the curve. So through preservation techniques, routine maintenance techniques, such as crack sealing, chip sealing, other preservation, it's going to help you extend the life of your roads. Next slide. So the approach that we follow, it's typically a 5-step approach. The first part of the project is to set up the system, and that's really establishing the framework for the program, which includes GIS mapping, you know, very similar to when you're in Google Maps, say. You're going to have roadway information, you're going to have aerial photography, you're going to bring in environmental information, utilities if you have that available, drainage, water, sewer, any of that information can be brought in and utilized to support the system. So it all starts with the GIS-based mapping. From there, we go out into the field and collect the information, and that's really, the bulk of the project is really collecting the information, organizing that information into a format that's utilized for analysis. We can analyze the information a variety of ways through the database, provide reports, GIS maps. It's always great to have a workshop and, you know, lay out large format maps. You can see a map of the town, where your good roads are, where your bad roads are, where your problems are, and have a discussion about, you know, what ultimately do you want to do to keep, you know, those roadways in a condition that's acceptable to the community. But it's really those two green squares really are probably where you have the most opportunity to interact with the data. We have capital planning and prioritization type data and tools, reports that we'll provide to you within the system. We'll ultimately deploy the system also to the town. So you're going to get out of this, not only are you going to get reports and maps, but you're also going to get a GIS-based system. It's web-based, so, and it's something that's really intuitive, and you can build on it. You can take pavement management is essentially the first layer. You can add other information on top of that. Next slide, thank you. Gis Technology, so Beta, we're really a GIS-centric firm. So this is just something that we do every day. We have a group of 15 people that are doing GIS mapping, asset management projects, pavement management projects. We probably do close to 15 pavement management projects each year. So this is not a hobby for us. This is something that we do routinely on a regular basis. Slide. So there's two options that we presented in our scope of work to collect the data in the field. The first is a manual option where we drive the roadways, we use a tablet, and we're identifying the different distresses that exist within the roadway from a visual observation. The other option that we've been using now for a little over 3 years is an automated option where we actually drive the roads, collect video, and then that in turn will turn those the video into snapshots, which I'll show you in more detail as we move into the presentation. We're also offering now a 360 camera perspective that we put on top of our data collection vehicle. It doesn't cost any more to collect the data, but you'll have that information available to you after we drive your 60 miles of road. Next slide.
Oh, sorry.
So the manual option, what we're doing is we're collecting, you can see on the right, the different distresses that you would see when you're doing a pavement inspection program. So there's alligator cracking, longitudinal cracking, transverse cracking, patching, potholes. There's a wide range of different distresses that we will identify, capture that, and enter that into the database. So once we collect that data on a roadway section, we are going to be able to, on the fly, calculate that 0 to 100 rating. We call it a road surface rating, or RSR. So the nice thing about this is that you get a rating immediately upon completing an inspection. We're also able to collect the information that you see on the left, where we can pick up, the road widths, curb type, sidewalks where they exist, sidewalk material, and then also line striping. Next slide. So the automated option, which was that video that I showed on the previous slide, is that we're driving the roads, collecting a video, and then that video is then converted to a snapshot photo every 10 feet. And then within the GIS, you also get a score every 10 feet. That's a point. So it's very detailed. And the one thing I like about this is that you get a photo every 10 feet in the town. You have access to that through the web-based program. But it also allows you to isolate where you have severe issues. So in terms of spot repairs, it's going to provide you with an immediate database throughout the community, and you can develop a spot repair program immediately. Next slide, thank you. The scores that come in on the automated are on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 level, with 5 being the worst, 1 being a road that, or a point that's in good condition. But ultimately, the same as the manual, we're going to convert the automated to a 0 to 100 score, which is that road surface rating score.
So I do have a question regarding the second option, which is the automatic. It's indicated here that those pitches are maintained for 2 years, and then
Yes.
after that, if we want to have access to it, we have to pay $10 per, I guess, per mile.
Per
So
center line mile, so it'd be 10 times the 60,
which is
$10 times 60.
$600 a year.
Yep.
So we can't physically have those pitches?
Yeah, we can. We can download those and put them on an external drive. Yeah, we've done that for a couple of towns.
And is that extra cost?
Oh, it's part of it. We'll just download and put them on an external. I mean, the cost of the external drive,
Yeah.
and that would be it. Then you'd own the external. It's probably $80 for an external drive. Yeah, but that's an option. Some towns have done that. But usually, in that 3rd or 4th year, you're going to re-inspect and have new photos that are going to represent that current condition.
Thank you.
Yep. Good. Yes, next slide. So once we have all the information collected, we've converted it to that 0 to 100 score, and now what we like to do is classify each roadway into what's called a repair band. So on the right-hand side, you can see where we have, starting from the bottom, again, that 0 to 100, 0 being the worst, 100 being the best. We have a group of roads that are below 50. Anything below 50 is usually considered to be in poor condition. And then from 50 to, say, 80 would be fair condition, and then anything from 80 and above would be good condition. And then there's different options that go along with each of those bands. And this is where the planning and the prioritization and developing that backlog of repairs that are required to the community. And this is something where we'll sit down, we'll work with Tom on developing, the repairs that you're comfortable with first and foremost, but others that you're not doing that you should consider. So that's something that we'll run through with you and present all the different options.
Some of the things that the town also has to take into consideration, there may be a road that needs to be worked on, but we know a year or two down the road, we're gonna have new water lines or whatever, so we're holding off on that. So even though it may say poor, come out being poor, we gotta look at the full, we don't wanna pave it, then 2 years later, dig it all up again and have to put piping in. So the residents need to know that there may be, even though we may have some roads listed as poor, we do have a plan.
Absolutely.
Look at all the parties that are, that are involved.
Totally agree with you, and that's something that every town deals with. So you've got it could be a road that's a 30, for instance. It could be the worst road in town. However, you've got, drainage that needs to be done. You might have, water, other underground utilities need to address that first. So maybe you might do a crack seal just to hold it together. And then, but as part of that capital plan, whether you do a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, most towns do a 3 or a 5. And then as part of that process, you would identify what year is appropriate for it. So you essentially defer it, say, until maybe it's 2024, not 2023.
Yeah, thank you.
Next slide, please. This is an example here. Actually, this is from Lakeville. So this is showing where you have 5 segments that make up a road in this particular case. So not only do you get points, so you get, on the automated side, you're getting a score every 10 feet. then those points are then summarized and assigned to a road segment respectively. So each road segment, typically intersection to intersection, will be assigned a score. You then can also roll it up to the road as a whole. So in this case, this road as a whole, you can see that it's recommending a minor rehab activity. That could be a mill and overlay, or it could be a shim and overlay, and then the total cost to do the entire road. But it's also going to break it down at the segment level. But it gives you the opportunity to phase that, or maybe you're only doing one section. So it gives you the full flexibility to break down the information. Next slide, thank you. Here's some examples. You can see upper left, there's a road that was just done 2 years ago when this inspection was done in Lakeville. You can see that that's a score of a 100. The one next to it on the right, score of an 81. And you can kind of see how as the road gets lower down the curve, you can see the distresses, the cracks start to appear. So the thing that's nice, these are the photos that you're going to get if you do the automated. If you go with a manual option, we're still going to collect photographs. It's not going to be every 10 feet. We'll collect representative photos along each roadway. So based upon the repair strategies and further understanding the unit costs that you currently have here in Dayton, we'll apply that to the database, run what's called a backlog analysis. This one happens to be here where their overall score was a 71.8. That's a pretty good score. I mean, the ranges that we see typically range from, I've seen as low as 58, I've seen as high as 84. Typically, most towns are somewhere between 65 and 75. That's typical here in Massachusetts that we see. But what this is providing is showing that working from left to right, it's showing the unit price. So that's a cost per square yard. So that's important to have a good understanding of the unit prices. So our cost estimates are going to be appropriate, and you're not surprised down, when you go out to do a bid and then the price comes in higher. I'd rather be conservative. And then it breaks down. You can see the percentages here. In this particular case, most of their network is in that preventative maintenance category, a little over 37% of the road. So it's good to be in preventative. If you got a lot of roads in the minor major, then you've got some catch up to do. Next slide, thank you. We can also break the data down into charts, bar charts, pie charts. So there's a lot of things that we do, and you can see that when we submit our report, we break everything down. This is one that we like to show. This is showing the different roadway functional classification. So each roadway is assigned a functional classification by Mass DOT. So you have here, you've got working left to right. You have roadways that are classified as arterials, so those carry the most traffic within the town. Collectors, that would be next, and then you get into your local roads and cul-de-sacs. They carry the least amount of traffic. But it's nice to know the traffic volumes, because that helps you in terms of prioritizing from a cost-benefit standpoint. You could have a road that's a local road versus a road that's an arterial. Could be the same score. It helps you prioritize. Well, maybe the one that's a arterial should be completed prior to the one that's a local road. So it's a nice data to have, a nice tool to have when you're developing your capital plan. This is just a sample snapshot map out of the GIS. So it's going to portray the data from a thematic standpoint. Different colors will represent the different levels of score for each roadway. This is the platform that I mentioned. So the web-based platform that will be deployed as part of this project. This is it's called ArcGIS Online. It's an Esri GIS product. So the thing that's nice about this is that we can deploy this to the town at no cost. So there's no annual maintenance fees associated with this. You can also add other layers to this. For example, street tree, down trees. You could use this as a tool to tag trees that are down during a storm through a tablet. So you have there's a lot of different other tools that you can add on to this, but really the focus here is a viewer where you can pan, zoom, look at the pavement management information. Next slide, please. This is just zooming in a little further in. And you could, the little boxes that you see, the charts, they're called widgets. So we can customize this with you and identify the different widgets, charts, and so forth that you'd like to see. It's your system, fully customizable. And then this is another one zooming in. And what this one's showing, the reason why I like to show this is you can see all the little dots where you have that Y intersection. Those are the dots that represent those robotics points. And so those are going to represent scores. You can click on the point, and then it's going to open up that photo. So that's all the cool GIS stuff, which I love. That's really my background. But really the most important thing here is at the end game for the community is developing that capital plan that's based on this empirical data that you now have. Do you have a question, sir?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
In looking at this plan, is anything taken into consideration for federal ADA requirements as far as sidewalk width and curb cuts? And
Actually, it's coming up on a slide.
Okay.
So that it's coming up shortly. I'll touch on that.
Thank you.
Yep. So on the capital planning and prioritization, you have the findings that I've been talking about. So we're able to summarize the existing conditions within the community. We're going to then define your needs. So how much budget do you need to really maintain your roads? And then develop a multi-year plan. I recommend doing at least a 3-year plan. Years 4 and 5, you could put those in the plan too, just so they're there. But there's a lot of moving parts. Hopefully Chapter 90, stays on track. Maybe we'll get more Chapter 90, which would be great. And then you have local funds. These are the different things that we can show your need. But ultimately, it's a collaborative process. We want to get, input and build a plan that everyone's going to buy into. Next slide, please. This is part of the modeling that we'll do. So this is an example of what we call a balanced model. So here, this is from Lakeville. So their score, again, was about a 72. And then we run different analyses based on how you distribute the different repairs. So this is, and the next model I'm going to show you is a preservation model. You'll see with a balanced model, this is shown based on your backlog. If you remember a couple slides back, I broke down, the different repair strategies by percentages. So what we'll do is we'll base the model based on those percentages, and then we'll run it. And you can see here that they need at least $1 million to start to, improve, and 1.5 to really show some progress. Typically, we'll run a model based on their Chapter 90. So there it's 400,000. So with Chapter 90, this is what's going to happen. Typically, most towns are losing ground just based on Chapter 90, and then you'll see what you need, for additional funds to really show some progress. Next slide, please. So this is another model that's more of a preservation approach. So this is doing more of chip seal, micro surfacing, lower cost repairs where you can cover more road miles. So by covering more road miles, you're going to pick up your 0 to 100 score is going to improve at a faster rate. So these are the types of things that we can run as part of the process and then present that to you. These are just 2 examples. Typically, we'll run probably up to 5 models on a project. Next slide, please. So getting back to your question. So on ADA right now is very important. It's a federal mandate. If you have a roadway that has curb ramps on them that are not in compliance, then they're required to be upgraded to meet compliance. The only road repair that does not trigger ADA is a chip seal. So if you're doing a micro surface, a mill and overlay, a reclamation, or a course of full depth, you're required to upgrade your curb ramps to be compliant. Typical cost on a curb ramp, we see anywhere from $2,500 to as high as, say, $6,000, somewhere in that range to build a curb ramp. And that gets brought in to your capital plan. So when you develop a plan, you've got Road A, and you'll know Road A has 5 curb ramps. So we're going to add on the cost of those 5 curb ramps into the project cost. Some communities have ADA funds that they can draw from. Some just utilize the Chapter 90 money or other local funds that they may have. But that's something that is very important. And I think now there's also a transition plan. I don't know if the community has a transition plan, so that's great. So you're in compliance with your transition plan, so that protects you, liability-wise and all of that. So that's important. Glad to hear that.
Excuse me, I would like to interject if you don't mind. We have had new sidewalks put in on Center Street, and they do not meet ADA compliance. There is no curb cutout based on the length of the curb sidewalk and the depth. It does not meet ADA compliance whatsoever on Center Street.
So that really isn't a question for this gentleman here, but I would.
I understand that it is not, but
I would suggest that you.
if it has not been met before, how can you ensure that it will be met with these plans?
The only thing I will say is that we've always asked, and not every department does it, but I've always asked that our ADA coordinator, Jonathan Gale, be involved in any of these decisions, any of these plans. I'm not sure if he was involved in the curb cuts for Center Street, but he should be involved. So we do have an ADA. We do have an ADA coordinator. I would ask that you put your concerns in writing and send it to Karen Brady, and also to me as the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, and I will see to it that our ADA coordinator gets that, and we will address it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So in addition to the sidewalks and curb ramps, we're also going to identify, underground utilities, take those, like we talked about earlier, take those into consideration. So a road that could be in poor condition, it may not be in year 1 of the plan, it might be in year 3, so it'll allow enough time to address those underground issues. Ultimately, what we're going to generate is what's called a cost-benefit analysis, or a CBV. So every roadway, based on the functional classification of the road, the amount of traffic on the road, the cost of the repair, the life improvement of that repair, it's a standard calculation. Every road will be scored. So in addition to that 0 to 100 road surface rating, we're also going to have next to that, what is its CBV? So it's a nice tool to have, and it helps you develop initially a prioritization list of roadways to consider. And again, it's a guide to help you prioritize your roads over time. Next slide, thank you. All right, the system that we're going to deploy, I mentioned, there's a lot of GIS information. That's really providing the framework to build on. So the system will be based on available mapping that the community has. We also draw from available mapping from Mass DOT, Mass GIS. There's a lot of good information out there that's free to the town, so we'll pull all that in, compile all that information. Aerial photography, we'll bring that into the system, the latest and greatest. There's a new flyover available, so we'll bring that in. And then ultimately, we're going to train the community on how to maintain it, so we'll identify who the key stakeholders are, if it's maintained at the public works level or by someone else. So we can work through that when we get into that deployment process toward the end of the project. Again, here we talked about reassessing the roads. So it's recommended that every 3 to 4 years that you do a new assessment, but in between that you need to update the database to reflect and take credit for the improvements that you have made. So we want to monitor what you're doing, what projects you're doing, go into the system and identify, well, this roadway was a 30, well, now it's a 100 because we did a mill and overlay. So that's important, and it doesn't take much time. Whether we do it or you do it, it's really up to you on how you want to maintain the system. We're very, very flexible with that.
Good.
Next slide. So just concluding remarks. So we're going to be providing the town with a comprehensive inventory of road information. It's going to be designed really to better manage the dollars that you do have, whether it's just your Chapter 90 money, local funds, other money, whether it's through a bond. Some communities do go for bonds, so that it's something that could be included. And then, it includes the capability of assessing different scenarios for you, the models that we can run, the different reports and maps that we can generate. So At the end of the day, you're really gonna have this comprehensive tool that you can utilize, whether it's every day or whether it's just, once a month or 3 or 4 times a year. So every community operates a little bit different. So with that, thank you. Take questions.
Does the board have any questions?
Yes, I have
Yeah.
several.
Selectman
Waited to the
Zagrafis.
end, but I did write them all down. So my first question for you is, besides Lakeville, how many other surrounding towns use these pavement management services?
So we've done since we started about 15 years ago, we've completed over 150 pavement management programs. In Massachusetts alone, I think we have, it's more than 60, probably close to 70 now, communities that we have developed. And they're all at different phases. Some towns, like this year, we did 15 projects. So those are all new data collections. So typically we have new projects that we're working on, but then we also have projects that we're working on every year with towns. So some towns retain us to help them with their capital planning. We may help them developing their bid documents. So typically each year, I'd say we're probably working with as many as 40 towns each year. And that's in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Maine, and New Hampshire.
Have you worked with communities like Somerset, Swansea, Berkeley, Rehoboth?
Nearby here, we haven't worked with those communities, but we've worked with Lakeville, Middleborough, East Bridgewater, working with several towns down the Cape. Plymouth is probably one of our biggest communities, I'll say, from a road network standpoint. So I'll say in the Plymouth County, southeastern Mass region, there's at least 20 towns that we're working with in this area.
Thank you. My next question. Nobody else had any? Okay, I'm
No, you
sorry.
can-
I didn't want to bogart the time. My next question is, can you give us general pricing estimates for the automated and manual options?
I think that's provided.
We did submit a proposal. So the automated, and we did give you the option. And the automated inspections is a little bit more money, you can see. Actually, let me put my glasses on for this. I can break it down. So the difference you can see here, if you look at task 2, for the automated, you're at a little over $10,000. And then for the manual, you're at $8,700. So it's about $2,000 less to do a manual inspection versus an automated.
Thank you. My next question, I guess, would be for either the town administrator or the highway department. If the Board of Selectmen is to approve this, then which department would be incurring this cost?
So yeah, like it would. Oh yeah, like it would be it would be highway, but under Chapter 90 town meeting, has already authorized the highway superintendent to spend at Chapter 90, up to around $300,000 a year, in either the 21,500 or the 23,300 would be paid out of the Chapter 90. Yeah, so there is a dedicated funding source that doesn't, rely on the town budget, any special or town meeting appropriation.
Yeah, so that was a good answer, because I was wondering whether or not it would be Chapter 90 funds, but that was good. Selectman Hull?
This question is actually for Mr. Ferry. What was the process that was done in selecting the beta group to present this proposal and possibly work with the town?
So actually, several years ago, Mass DOT was toying with the idea of requiring you to have pavement management to use Chapter 90. That has not been enforced yet. I believe they're still heading in that direction. I believe MMA was instrumental in stalling that, because not all communities were up, ready to go yet. At that time, I got an entity out of Maine. Recently, this year, especially with the energy that we have with the capital outlay, I looked at 2 other companies with Mike. This one stands out on the science and the science that backs up on it, and looking at he didn't share all the information that, using Lakeville for an example, but it's quite a thick packet, so, so believe it or not, me and Mike agreed upon this decision.
Next, I have a
Yes,
question,
Selectman Hull.
actually, for Mr. Garrow. You mentioned you worked with the town of Middleborough. Robert Newlands, does that sound familiar?
I've been working with Chris Peck
Okay.
there.
Mr. Newlands is the town administrator.
Yeah, I haven't interacted with him on this particular project. It's been primarily just working with Chris on on the capital planning side.
The reason why I asked that, we are good friends, and I
Oh,
was
okay.
wondering if that would be a person that I would be speaking to as a reference.
Sure.
Point. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, Chris, we just developed a 5-year plan with him that we're in the process of tweaking, I'll say, so.
Thank you very
Yep.
much.
Mr. Oh,
Oh, no.
Dr. Z? No?
No, Mr. Ferry.
No, I was just going to, Mr. Ferry, do you have anything you want to add to this conversation?
More of an inquiry, so tonight's presentation was more to get your board up to speed on the concept of pavement management. That's really what I'm after tonight. If I'm not sure the port of order or not, if you have to accept this proposal, because on the engineering side, I don't believe we have to. I believe me and Mike decided this is the route that we'd like to go, as long as you guys are okay with that. I'm not the sole person signing for the Chapter 90 request. I need at least a board, or if you guys authorize Mike to do that, then me and him can move forward with it.
Dr. Z?
So this CBV analysis, or I guess it's like a report that gets produced, is that document going to be provided to the Capital Outlay Committee so that they can incorporate pavement management into the other plans that they have? And I guess this is more for the
Well,
town administrator.
Actually, it's
or
for Mr. Ferry, because he's the one that has to give us what he's going to be spending
Yeah.
in the highway department, so he's going to be the one that's going to be presenting it. But he keeps on shaking his head.
I told this guy, no acronyms.
Just
So,
like the report that after they study all the streets, take all the photographs, compile all the data, and then they have some kind of a scaling system for
Right.
each street. Is that, and then costs, obviously,
Right, yeah, there'll be
estimates.
estimated costs.
Yeah.
Right.
Will that information be provided to the Capital Outlay Committee so that they can incorporate that into the other projects that they have to prioritize?
I think that's a good idea. I think you want to collaborate, as part of, you could do a workshop session where you're going to develop your road plan, and then you're going to have priorities for roads, but then you're going to incorporate other information. So usually you're looking at the worst to best list, your 0 to 100, you look at your CBV scores, because those are going to prioritize based more so on use, importance to the town. I would recommend that everyone have a look at the reports. Yeah.
The reason I say that is just because, as the chairman had mentioned, there are water infrastructure upgrades that need to be made. So I think it would be wise if we incorporate
All that
stakeholders
information
from
in the
everybody.
layers. Yes.
Exactly.
And we would code that in. Any information that's provided to us along the way, whether, it's water or sewer, we'll code that in and tag it to the specific road. So you're gonna know when you run your analysis, oh, wait, red flag, we have this going on, we need to move this project, even though it's a 30, we're gonna put it out to 2024, 2025, as an
Thank you very
example.
much. I'm almost done, I apologize.
yeah, you don't have to apologize.
Yeah,
Well, you're being
Good
nice, it's
question.
the
These are all
beginning
good
of the
questions.
meeting, that's
Yeah.
why.
Just about 9:30, you
Yeah, correct.
I may
Understood.
use this.
Who would, and this is for anybody, who would manage, I don't know the right verb here, who would manage, operate, or be able to access that Manage My Roads platform? Typically, who is that?
so we would decide, working collectively with the town on who would have access to that. There are login credentials, so it's password protected. Through, you have a URL and then login credentials. Typically will be a view or read only, but then you could also provide, rights to edit the information. And it really depends on how you want to handle it. And that's something we can work out during that last phase. That deployment phase is where we could discuss whether the town's gonna maintain it or whether we continue to maintain it, because we'll maintain it, you know, for 2 years under this contract for no additional cost.
And my last question, I promise, Mr. Ferry, is for you. And maybe we don't know the answer to this right now, and that's fine too. How would this analysis, the pavement management plan, impact the current complete streets prioritization plan?
That's a good question, and that's one of the reasons why we like to recommend this group. They're very acclimated with the complete and shared streets program. They just gotta get up to speed the work that we already have done and, to kick off the program, because some of that data needs to be ready for next spring.
That's a really good question, and that's been coming up a lot more on how to incorporate the complete streets. Basically, you have your prioritization plan, which has been up, you know, you've uploaded, so those 15 projects, or I'm not sure how many that you have, but I would recommend that those projects, like the utilities, get coded into the pavement management program, so we know what roads are in play or being considered for a complete streets project. It could be a sidewalk, it could be just a bike lane, whatever your priorities are, because that could affect ultimately your, I'll say your curb to curb treatment and how you handle your striping, ultimately.
That's a good idea. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Ferry, as well. I have no further questions.
Mr. Hull,
Actually,
Selectman Hull.
the question would be to Mr. Ferry. My understanding is the Capital Outlay Committee is looking at 5 years, is that
Yes.
correct? With that in mind, how many years do you anticipate your road recondition program would take to satisfy what you believe professionally are the needs of the town?
That would always be evolving, like he explained recently, I don't know if it was the last comment he made. It has to remain fluid. We may have a need to change the recommendation for one road to be paved next year for whatever reason. And 5 years out, that whole list is gonna change. So, I'm not sure if I'm answering your question. It's the pavement management part and using a firm like these people are always gonna be of a need. The expense might not be as great, but we're always gonna need them.
The next question is actually capital outlay. So every year, would they be reviewing their priority list?
Yes,
So it
right now,
could change
yeah,
from
right
there.
now, all the department heads have to give us a report by November 18th, which brings me to my question, how long will it take to actually do this whole thing? Because Mr. Ferry has to present it to us by November 18th.
So if we were to do, my recommendation, if you need data immediately,
No, I was,
Oh.
but how long does it?
how long
this
typically?
process,
So to do manual is a quicker process. So the manual, if we went with a manual process, we could actually have data collected 60 miles of road. Typically it would take about 2 weeks to collect the data. The automated method would take probably 2 or 3 days to collect, but then it gets post-processed. That'll take at least probably 6 to 8 weeks before we get data back. So the manual provides data back quickly, so we can fast-track the project. But if you really want that automated approach, you're gonna have to probably wait until next year to have that information in hand.
And Mr. Ferry, do you have a recommendation as to which one we ought to go with, whether it's the manual or the automatic?
Automated.
I don't at this time, we have to honor some of that internally.
Yeah, I would recommend, if you have the time, if you are able to wait a little while, then I would go with the automated. We can get out next week and collect automated data, and then it's in the can, so to speak, and then it's going to get post-processed and then comes back to us. If you're gonna do manual, again, within a couple of weeks, we'd have actual scores on the roads.
Mr. Ferry has a comment.
Yes, Mr. Ferry.
I think what really is gonna affect the capital outlay decision is, after this gets moving, is what we would come up with for recommendation, the town's contribution to bring our roads
Yes.
to a factor that we desire. Other than that, staying within the chapter 90 wouldn't affect the capital outlay, except for our roads declining over time.
Selectman Hull?
Mr. Ferry, the Main Street project, is that within the constraints of Chapter 90 funding? or would you need additional funding?
That's a loaded question. I have not been spending all my chapter 90 anticipating a very large bill on that street. So last year and this year is still not enough to do Main Street if we did that street alone next year. So we still may need to entertain a town contribution on that 2-mile stretch.
Will that have to come before the capital outlay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But it wouldn't target this year's consideration.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'm not too familiar with the infrastructure bill that's before Congress, but I wonder if some of that would cover this expense. I don't know. I know it's the internet and other stuff, bridges and stuff, but I'm not sure it would cover roads. So does the board, are we prepared to vote on this tonight, or we want to take this under advisement?
I just would,
And- Yep.
I'm happy to vote. I think it's needed, and I'm going to support it. I just would like someone to tell us who's knowledgeable, which one they prefer. My opinion, based on what I heard tonight, is the automated option, but I'm no expert.
Selectman Hull?
I think at this point, to answer Dr. Z's question, is the urgency of getting a project going based on, obviously, public safety. But you can't, in this town, with the limited number of people that Mr. Ferry has, put too much more on Mr. Ferry's plate, keeping in mind you already have a big project with Main Street. So I'm wondering if it would be better to go with the automated and move a little slower in this plan. Give us an opportunity to concentrate on Main Street and patch up roads that need immediate attention on a case-by-case basis.
Mr. Ferry?
Yes, I'm not sure who can answer this. What might else help answer the automated or manual? Would the automated still be fast enough to help us with shared streets or complete streets next round in the spring?
So we would have that data to work with over the winter. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
And just so the public knows, the automated inspections will cost, if we do all 1 through 5, it's $23,300, and the manual inspection total sum is $21,500.
Out of chapter 90.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
out of
that's the
chapter
cost.
90. This would be funded with chapter
Well,
90.
he answered first. I think he's smart administrator.
Well, of course.
That's not
That
gonna
salary
happen.
line.
That's not going to happen.
Are you entertaining motions?
Yes, I am.
And I agree with what you said, Selectman Hull. So with that, I motion that the Board of Selectmen, I'm trying to phrase this. There's times I miss you. Okay, yes, thank you. Award the contract for the automated pavement management services to Beta Group. I'm trying to look for an address. As presented this evening in the amount of $23,300.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye,
And Campuchico is an aye.
thank you.
Put a smile on his face.
Wow, well, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
I
for the presentation. It was
Definitely
very
appreciate
good.
the opportunity to come in front of you tonight, and looking forward, to working with Tom and everyone on this project.
Thank you very
So,
much.
Great.
Thank you. It
All
was a
right,
great
thank you. And I-
It is a
presentation.
good presentation. Very comprehensive.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you. You too.
And unlike,
You too.
Thank you so much. I look forward to working with you. Thank you. All right, thanks.
Very
and
helpful.
unlike Lakeville, you probably will have a lot of contact with our town administrator.
Oh, okay. right, have a good evening.
You as well, thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is Tom Ferry's Highway Superintendent recommendation to hire for Operation Class 1.
So as you know, we had a recent retirement, and last meeting, we picked a foreman, so that person moved up, that created a vacancy in our shop. So after reviewing the applications on hand with our town administrator, we would like to recommend James Woodson from Berkeley for our operator class 1 vacancy, with a start date of November 15th.
So I will entertain a motion to hire James Woodson from Berkeley as our Operator Class 1 for Operator 1 Class 1 vacancy to become effective November 15, 2021.
Before I make that motion, is it okay under, once it's seconded, under discussion, if he'd like to say a few words? Not obliged, but if he wanted to introduce himself?
Is he here?
I think so.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
Not that I know him,
Yeah,
but
okay.
I saw him come in.
James right there.
I will make the motion that the Board of Selectmen appoint Mr. James Woodson from Berkeley as a Operator Class 1 as of November 15th, 2021.
Is
Second.
there a second? Mr. Woodson, would you like to speak before we take the vote?
You're not
You're
obligated.
not
to-
obligated.
It's nice to meet you.
Yes,
Nice to meet you.
yes, and that won't change my vote if you don't speak. I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico's an aye. So congratulations and welcome to Dayton.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You-
Thank you, Mr. Ferry.
Our next agenda item is Chairman Tom Pires from the Board of Health. There's 2 items.
Evening, Board. Good evening, everybody.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
I have 2 items I scheduled to speak to tonight. If it is not objection with the board, I'd like to speak to the public health nurse position first. Would that
That's
be
fine.
okay?
Yes, that's
Okay.
fine. Excuse me, before you start. Selectman Hull?
I'm sorry, Mr. Pius, but I must make an announcement before you continue. I must recuse myself from participating in this discussion and appointment due to the fact that the candidate and I work for the same public health agency. Thank you.
Thank you, Selectman Hull, for that.
Okay, I had sent you, this board, 2 letters, and I think it got a little confusing on which was which, so I'm just gonna read them both so we can explain the process, and so everyone out in the public will know how this went. The following individuals met on Thursday, October 14th, 2021, to conduct interviews of 3 applicants for the vacant public health nurse position in the town of Dayton. Town Administrator Michael Mullen, former town nurse and present middle school nurse Denise Wilkins, Health Agent Todd Pilling, and myself. The interviews began at 3:00 p.m. with each candidate given 30 to 45 minutes to respond to questions and ask questions of the interviewers. At the end of the interviews, a unanimous consensus was given that a recommendation be sent to the 3-member Board of Health and the 3-member Board of Selectmen for consideration of Nicole Mello for the vacant Town of Dayton public health nurse position. Now, the reason it was done this way, the Board of Health makes a recommendation to this board as, so that was the process. At its meeting on Monday, October 25, 2021, the Board of Selectmen reviewed and accepted the recommendation of the interview team for the Town of Dayton public health nurse. The board also voted unanimously and is pleased to recommend to the Board of Selectmen the name of Nicole Mello for appointment, having a problem with that word tonight, huh? To the vacant public health nurse position. And she's here this evening. I'm not sure if she wants to speak while here, but I think she's gonna be a great asset to the town. Everybody did well on the interviews, but she has a lot of strengths. I think the town will be better off, I guess, for lack of word, that she's on board with us, so.
Her resume is very impressive. I do want to acknowledge that I do work with her on the Commission on Disability. She's a member, as well as Kevin Smith's a member. She's a big asset to the committee. She helps us out when it comes to issues like this, so I would be pleased to support her. Did you want to say anything? You don't have to.
Thank you. Sorry, I have to put my back to you. I hope my hair looks good back there. So I thank you for all having me. Just to give you a little background on me, me and my family have lived in Dighton for the last 10 years. I have worked for the last 3.5 years for Co-op. I don't know if everyone's familiar with it. It's across from Dunkin' Donuts up the street, nonprofit. We work with individuals with intellectual and development disabilities. Prior to that, I was a pediatric home care nurse, also in Dighton. The fact that all my jobs have been in Dighton is not a coincidence. I've chosen that because I want to support the town I live in, and this was a great opportunity to get to do that further, so I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
May
I will
ask a
entertain.
question?
Yeah, you want to ask who? Ms.
I
Mello?
have a question, or Chairman Pyers. So I thank you for being interested in this and for applying. I know you are someone who does serve the town and loves the town and gives back to the town in a volunteer capacity. So I was really happy to see that you wanted to be the public health nurse. I do have one question. I know we get the weekly COVID reports from the Board of Health, and I think this week there were no cases, or there were very
Zero.
few cases.
0 cases
Yep.
this week.
But one thing that I think we wanted the public health nurse, or that I wanted the public health nurse to be able to help with, is contact tracing. And so this brings me to my question. The health agent and the office manager had told me some time ago there's some kind of a certification. It's like an online
Yeah, there's a
thing.
little, well, more than a little bit of training. The MAVEN program, which stands for Massachusetts Virtual Epidemiology Network, will be a primary job assignment of her doing tracking infectious diseases and COVID at this point, and all other, diseases affecting the town. So that training in the beginning is 2 to 3 hours. And then there is a little bit of, more than a little, probably 1 or 2 hours more of contact tracing training. Then she also has to do the 107 NIMS and the other one I can't think of right now.
There's like a one series
ICS
and
and
a
NIMS,
200
100, 700.
command, incident command.
So the goal is to get it going on the MAVEN first to start the tracking. So hopefully within a couple of weeks, we'll have her going on that.
Awesome.
Our plan is, I hope are you going tomorrow? Yeah, so she'll be seeing Karen tomorrow to start the process.
Awesome.
Get the paperwork done. As soon as that's done, we can get her going on the MAVEN training, so. But it is all online, all this training is online.
And is this effective immediately, Chairman Pyers?
That's gonna be my
That was,
question.
because I'm going to make the
Are
motion. I
you
just
available
wanted know.
to start right away?
Okay.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that the Board of Selectmen appoint Nicole Mello as the public health nurse, effective immediately.
I will step down and second that motion. Any further discussion?
I just wanted to also say, I was very impressed by your resume, and again, thank you for wanting to do this.
I'll call for a vote. Selectman Zografis, I almost
Aye.
said Selectman Hull. Selectman Zografis. That's what I meant.
Aye.
And Campuchico was an aye. So it does pass, and you are now our new town nurse, so congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah, let's give her applause.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, the second thing we're gonna speak to is the contract for the simple recycling, textile pink bag program. At our meeting on Monday, we did vote to extend that contract already for another 3 years. I'd just like to speak to some of the benefits of this program to the town, because I think a lot of the people either still aren't aware of it, or they need some refresher on what the program involves. For those of you, you probably see these pink bags on the sides of the road. I wanted to bring one tonight, but I'm locked out of downstairs and I didn't want to set off an alarm, so, again. The program is no cost to the town, lowers volume and disposal costs of solid waste disposal because it gets the textiles out of the regular trash. We average about 3,000 pounds a month, and they pay a penny a pound. It's not a killing, but it's $30, $35 a month, depending on volume. Believe it or not, last year we collected 18 tons, and at a cost of $76 a ton for solid waste disposal at CMAS, the town saved roughly $1,400 in costs. Again, not a killing, but it adds up. This also increases, since we're involved in this program, this also increases our eligibility for grant by $600. Right now, we've been getting about $5,400 annually for various recycling programs that we started within the town. You can leave these curbside on the date of your trash, or beginning Tuesday on the 2nd, you'll be able to drop them off at the transfer station if you're going there, or if you happen to miss the pickups. They're supposed to leave you a pink bag, or as many as they take. If they take 2, they're supposed to leave you 2 pink bags. For some reason, that hasn't been happening lately, but we do have a supply of them down in the Board of Health office, so if anybody needs any, just come on down and we'll give you as many as you think you're gonna need for the program. And I guess the end of this is that this all becomes mandatory on November 1st, 2022. I don't know who's supposed to enforce it, because it'll be, if you're throwing your textiles in a trash bag, who's going to enforce that? You know, nobody's going to see it. But we hope that more people get on with the program, and because of the more textiles that go into that system, takes it out of the town trash. Originally, I understood it was supposed to be textiles. If I had a bag, I would have been able to tell you exactly, but we can get it on the website, and I think it's already on there. Some of the examples are any type of textile, curtains, blankets. They even said backpacks, pots, pans. I don't know how those got in, but you can put pots and pans in there, and there's probably about a dozen things that you can put out to the curb instead of, putting it in the trash. We had a comment before when we first started this. This is a for-profit company. Well, I guess that's your choice. If you don't want to put it out because this is a for-profit company, then you can bring it to any one of your disposal sites where they have drop boxes for clothing and so forth. So, but it's a program offered to the town. It's free. We make a little bit of money from it, and hopefully, if the Board of Health can get a few more hours upcoming, we'll be able to start some more programs that will benefit the town and save us some money. Thank you. Any questions?
Selectman Segravas.
You rang, Mr. Pyerd. I did want to ask, can we get the word out about the transfer station being able to bring them there? I think that's really awesome. I have had people Sometimes the bags get hidden, and so they don't get picked up with the trash. And so people have asked, oh, do we have to wait till next week? And so at the time, the answer was yes.
Yeah.
But I think if we let people know that they can drop it off at the transfer station, I think that's really good. And it doesn't have to sit outside.
That's why I wanted to give it a little push tonight, so people would know that. If at any day that your items aren't picked up, just call the Board of Health office. We are in contact with them. They will come out and pick up what they missed for some reason. A lot of towns are starting now to, if you have pink bags, they want you to call. But Dayton has enough volume at this point where we don't have to do that yet. So they ride around every street looking for the pink bags on the, it will be on the day of your trash pickup, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've been fortunate, all of our bags have been picked up every time we put them out. We've put out a few bags.
Yeah, like I said, if you don't get some fresh bags and you got a lot more stuff, just come and get as many as you want. They supply them to us, so.
This
Are you
Selectman
still
Hull?
recused? or-
Yeah.
No. I was wondering if you could inform the residents regarding recycle bins, where they could pick them up if they needed a new one.
Well, we're not really selling recycle bins anymore for the public. And we can't afford to give them away free.
No.
So what we've done, you can use any type of receptacle you want,
Okay.
which is a 33-gallon or 50-gallon plastic bin. Just use common sense and don't fill it up. We do have, it has to be either written on, or we have stickers that we give free to place on your receptacle that says recycle.
Thank you.
Because what ends up happening, if you put it out there and it's not marked, it slows down the haulers, because they're looking in it to see if it's trash or if it's recycled. So if you're gonna use that method of putting out your recycles in any type of container, just mark it recyclable, so they'll know.
I think we have a question from the public, Kevin Smith.
Hi, Kevin Smith from
Hi.
Parks and Rec. I was
Hello.
actually, this kind of just brings up an idea of mine for the next spring is when we come up on Earth Day. I was hoping to, I know the town does a lot and some of the scout groups do a lot for Earth Day anyway. But to create some sort of small event, maybe we can coordinate with the health department to have an informational session if it's right out here like towards the playground. That question comes up all the time, what can I put in what bin and stuff like that. So maybe we can set up I'll coordinate with the Board of Health and we can set up a booth.
Yeah, I'd be
and
happy
kind
to
of,
do
you know,
that.
Describe and maybe give out some pink bags or give out recycling stickers.
Yeah, I don't, it's either recyclemass.org or massrecycle.org, that if you go there and you have a particular item, you don't know whether it goes in the trash or whether it goes into recycling. If you go to that site and put it on, and it'll tell you whether it's recyclable or not recyclable. But that's a good idea. I would love to do something like that.
Yeah, we
You
just
know.
don't have time to plan, so we'll just keep it.
Yeah, no, that's good.
That's a good idea. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to extend the contract with Simple Recycling.
No, they did that.
We've already
The Board of
done
Health
Oh,
did
so
that.
we don't have to,
No, I was just,
oh, this is just informational?
Yes,
this was information.
courtesy.
Oh,
Thank you,
thank you.
sir.
That's okay.
Yeah, the Board of Health, and correct me if I'm wrong, oversees the trash and recycling and also this pink bag.
Yeah, we track all, what's the tonnage, recycling tonnage, solid waste tonnage, all the roll-offs that go in and out of the transfer station. We pretty much work hand in hand with the highway department. We're doing all the tracking, which, you know, without doing the tracking, we probably wouldn't be able to come up with budget numbers for the next year. So it's like a guessing game, except now we have some numbers that we can rely on historically to try to figure out. But, you know, it just keeps going up and up. And as far as recycling, one of the things, if you don't mind if I keep talking for a minute,
Well,
we
Ken
wanted
does,
to.
I don't.
It informs the public as well. Oh, thank you.
One of the programs we wanted to start, and we just haven't had time to do it, it's their recycling initiative. the cost of recycling goes up constantly because people are throwing things in the recycling that shouldn't be in there, then it becomes contaminated. I mean, we had a person call that said, well, they didn't pick up our recycling. Well, we called Borges, what was in it? A pizza box with pizza still in it, pizza pieces. So, you know, it's kind of common sense stuff, but the recycling initiative that we wanted, we would have someone going out and checking recycling and rejecting that. And we need to do an audit of our recycling, which, you know, Borges would be happy to do that, but we still need people in time to go out to, like, inspect each bin, and then we can put a rejection sticker on it, or pull out the piece, and, you know, but, so that was one of our goals. And there's several others, but, you know, when COVID hit, it just made it nearly impossible to do anything else, so it's,
Well, I think it's
That's
important that
about
the
it.
public know what they can recycle and what they can't
yes,
recycle.
did you
So
find that?
Before we start having somebody,
Recycle Mass or Mass Recycles? Oh, you weren't looking that up?
Oh, I was in the restroom.
Oh, okay.
It's all right.
I'll let you know, I'm gonna look it up now, and I'll let you know before I go. Thank you.
Thank you,
thank
sir.
you, Mr. Pius. Going to the Board of Assessors, the Chairman Eric Easter Day.
Call to order the meeting of the Board of Assessors at 7:28.
Mr. Chairman, we have one agenda item tonight, and that is to make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen to fill the vacancy on the Board of Assessors. It's an unexpired, it's a term that will expire with the April election. There was one applicant, Mrs. Carol Beauregard, who held a position prior to her retirement. So I'm going to make a motion that we recommend to the Board of Selectmen the appointment of Carol Beauregard to complete the unexpired term that ends next April.
I step down as chairman and second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I take a vote. All those in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Does the board have any questions?
No.
If not, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Mrs. Carol Beauregard to the Board of Assessors to fill the current vacancy through its term.
Is there a
Term
second?
expiration, excuse me.
Yep. Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion?
If I may, I didn't tell you this, but I had said to myself privately, maybe, just maybe, there was a way that we could get you back. So I thank you for your continued service very much, and your experience is very important. Thank you.
I'm just hoping, because I just found out Monday that I have been deactivated from Gateway. So I'm hoping whoever deactivated me can get you back on there.
Is that like
Yeah, it's
DOR?
DOR.
Okay. I was like, we didn't do that, did we?
That's all the tax rate papers.
Okay.
I'll call for a vote.
Actually,
No,
Mrs.
Selectman Hull?
Beauregard, thank you for coming back and helping us. You were an asset to the town in your previous position.
Can't just
Now-
fully retire, huh?
We know where she
The
lives.
board,
Thank you.
Call for vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico was an aye. So congratulations, you're back involved in the town. So thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the Board of Assessors meeting adjourn.
At 7:30, I second.
It's a short meeting.
I call a vote.
Are you taking
Aye.
notes?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank
Short
you
meeting,
very
which
much.
Sometimes our meetings for that. Probably shouldn't say that. but- I like it. Okay, so the next agenda item is public input. Is there any public input? Anybody on Zoom, public input? If not, then we're going to go to announcements. Dr. Z, will you?
I didn't know that thing moved by itself. I'm sorry. It scared me. That's awesome.
I'm actually moving it.
Oh.
We just learned about
Oh, okay.
it.
Oh, that's
Where do you
weird.
go?
No, not
I
that
attack.
angle. Wrong angle. Okay.
Is it that bright orange sweater?
Mr. Chairman, I'll read the announcements now per your wish. We have one special announcement that was forwarded to us from our assessor, one of our assessors, Nancy Goulart, and it's regarding the Persian Gulf War bonus. The Veterans Bonus Division within the Office of the State Treasurer now provides a one-time bonus to veterans of the Persian Gulf War. The bonus was previously offered by the Massachusetts Department of Veterans Services, so veterans may have already received their payment. Veterans are eligible to receive the bonus if they performed active service for a period of 30 days or more from August 2nd, 1990 to April 11th, 1991, and were discharged under honorable conditions. They must have lived in Massachusetts prior to their service. Family members of deceased service members who died during active service in support of the Persian Gulf War can also apply for this bonus, and our thoughts are with their family members. A single payment of $500 will be granted to active service veterans involved in Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. A $300 bonus will be offered to veterans called to active service in support of those operations in an area other than the Persian Gulf. To inquire about the Persian Gulf War bonus, please visit I'll just read it. It's www.mass.gov/forms/veterans-bonus-inquiry. And thank you for that, Nancy. Special town meeting is scheduled for 7 p.m. this Monday, November 1st, 2021, in the Dayton-Rehoboth High School Auditorium. The special town meeting warrant can be accessed on the Town of Dayton homepage at www.dayton-ma.gov under the town meeting webpage. A veterans breakfast is scheduled for 9 a.m. on Saturday, November 6th, 2021 at Father's House Family Church, 207 Main Street, Dayton, Massachusetts. A Veterans Day ceremony will take place on Thursday, November 11th, 2021 at 11 a.m. at the Veterans Memorial at 979 Somerset Avenue. The Town of Dayton Food Bank distribution will be held at 8 a.m. on Saturday, November 20th, 2021 at Town Hall Lower Level 979 Somerset Ave. And just a slight correction, it's actually the Dayton Lions Club Food Bank distribution. And then, if you may, Mr. Chairman, can you read the list of board and committee vacancies,
Sure, if I
please?
can find it.
Sorry. Oh, okay, you have the
Okay,
same
no, I have
problem
it.
I do.
List of board and committees with vacancies. Board of Health needs one person as a result of what we'll be doing later. Cable Television Committee needs one person. Capital Outlay Committee needs one person. Now it's the Finance Committee that will be appointing that person, just so everybody knows. Commission on Disability needs 3 people. Finance Committee needs 2 people. Human Rights Committee needs 3 people. Land Use Committee needs 2 people. Open Space Committee needs 3 people. Superintendent of Pest Control, we need a Superintendent of Pest Control. TIF Review Board needs 2 people, and the Zoning Board of Appeals needs 1 person. Just to further add on the Veterans Day breakfast, this is from our veteran agent, Ray Haig. He sent an invitation to all the Dayton veterans. The town of Dayton would like to invite you to a free breakfast to celebrate with Veterans Day on November 6th to express our gratitude and appreciation to all veterans in town. Please note, breakfast will be held at the Father's House Family Church located at 207 Main Street, Dayton, between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. I do hope that you will accept our invitation. As a veteran, you are a very important part of Dayton's history as you represent the many veterans that have served our country to ensure that we maintain the freedoms that we have for today. Please let us know if you are able to participate, and please know let the veterans agent know if you are. We have about 425 veterans, but their families also able to participate in this breakfast, so just want to make that. And the other thing on the Veterans Day presentation, Mrs. Goulart has volunteered as well as myself and our veterans agent, Ray Haig. We're going to meet next week, and we'll come up with the agenda for the Veterans Day event that we're going to have here at 11 o'clock. And we have several speakers planned, so please come out and thank the veterans in town that have given service to our country. So, the next agenda item is the Open Committee Spotlight, Open Space Committee. Kevin Smith, I believe, is going to speak on that.
Good evening, everyone. Just real briefly, like you just stated, Chairman Pacheco, we do have several vacancies on the Open Space Committee, and we're actively seeking more members as we kind of in an in-between period where it's a good time for some new people to get in. We recently, over the summer, completed our open space and recreation plan, and then we're gonna begin working on our, open space residential design bylaws, which is very important and kind of a hot topic in town right now. So it would be good to get some more people involved to start to lay that out. Just to give a brief idea of what Open Space Committee does. Open Space Committee is a bridge between a lot of other committees and commissions. It opens up a lot of opportunities for grants and planning for the Conservation Commission, CPC, and the Agricultural Commission. It's just so anybody who is interested knows, it's not a super high ask committee. We meet regularly once a month for about an hour, hour and a half. There's not a ton of heavy lifting. It's more discussion and planning. But we'd like to expand it, and we'd like it to grow so we can start to do more for the community. This also ties back into what Mr. Pyer was talking about earlier. It's really a responsibility of an open space committee to organize cleanup days and, you know, help promote programs like that as well. It's part of their description, so it'd be nice to get some more members, get some people active in the group, and start to reach out to the community more, whether it be through things like that or even through giving more information to the public about how they can become, you know, conserve their property through chapter land and other programs like that we have. That's our job, is to be a liaison for the other committees and commissions to get that information out to the public.
Does the board have any questions?
I actually do. Mr. Smith, who is the chairman of the committee?
Right now, it is vacant, so I guess it would be almost safe to say that I would be acting as chair at this point, just because of...
The clerk?
No, but our chair left, our clerk left. I think I'm the only
member.
active. We do have 3 members, but I was the only active member at the time. And Selectman Sakafis is the liaison to the board. So him and I have been involved through the process of the open space recreational plan, but we've lost 2 key members. So
I've already spoken to Selectman Zagofis in regards to the district and the Development and Industrial Commission. And tentatively, at our December meeting, we were hoping to invite Open Space for a joint meeting. I just wanted to make you aware of that. And our goal is to review open space that has been targeted in the community or identified.
right, and we'd be more than happy to do that. We do have an active list of all the open space, what property is, you know, classified as open space. So we do have a meeting November 8th, I believe, is our next scheduled meeting. We do have a new member coming in, so we'll get him up to speed, and then obviously we'd be more than happy to participate.
And as I said, the date of that meeting hasn't been approved by the committee yet, but it is our goal to have open space come before.
Let me know sooner than later. I have a busy schedule.
Well, no, once we have a formal vote on the sending the invitation.
No, absolutely. That's the whole idea of this committee is to bridge with other committees, because we actually really don't. It's almost more of an advisory board, and we come up with guidelines, but we're passing that information on to the boards or committees that it pertains to, and also opening up the door for grant opportunities for those different committees. I actually just received some new literature from UMass Dartmouth, and it's the newest open space handbook. There's a whole list in the back of active Massachusetts grants that we're eligible for because of the open space recreational plan that I plan on, you know, forwarding along to whatever committees or commissions it pertains to. So there's quite a bit of opportunities through this to. One thing that comes to mind is the Trails Committee. There's a pretty significant grant through open space that might be available for them to explore, so.
Any other questions? Yep, Dr. C.
I just wanted to add, if anyone is interested but doesn't want to make a commitment and would like to see more of what we do, there will be a meeting, as you said, on November 8th, here at 5 p.m., right here in this room, here at Old Town Hall. One thing, and I think I had mentioned this to you casually in passing, was that the next objective of the Open Space Committee, and you did touch upon this, was an open space residential bylaw, design bylaw. However, because we're an advisory committee and we really can't adopt it or pass it ourselves, that's something that we would work on, for example, with the planning board. So I've already reached out to the chairman of the planning board to say, hey, this is something we're thinking about, but because it's a zoning bylaw, it really falls under the planning boards. So we would work with them on that. Maybe a subcommittee, I don't know how they would want to do it, but it really is a committee that innervates all the other committees. And again, the purpose of it is to really keep the town rural and beautiful and agrarian. So I look forward to working with the Development and Industrial Commission on this. And I will make sure that we forward to Selectman Hull or to the town administrator that inventory of town-owned land and also a copy of the open space and recreation plan so that they have time to look at it before their, I believe you said December meeting. So we'll get that to you.
Thank you.
Right, and also either one of us or both of us can be present to answer any questions
Absolutely.
at that time as well. And also too, for anybody that does want, like you said, doesn't want to commit but wants more information, they could also reach out to you or myself, and we'd be more than happy to answer any questions or any more questions about what we do and when we meet.
And we'll be reorganizing Monday because we don't have any
Selectman Hull?
leaders.
Mr. Chairman, through you, if Mr. Higgins would like to address either us or Mr. Smith. Mr. Higgins, who's sitting in the audience this evening, is the chairman of the Industrial Development Commission. So I don't know if Mr. Higgins had any questions or any comment for Mr. Smith in regards to our role working with the Open Space Committee.
No, not at this time, and I do look forward to working. And by all means, if something comes up, feel free to send me an email.
Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you for your presentation, all of the work you do for our town.
Thank you very much.
You're also the chairman of the Parks and Rec, which you're doing a great job, so,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good
See you
evening.
Monday.
See you Monday.
The next agenda item is the town administrator's report.
So thank you, Chairman. I'll be quick. Hopefully, the update on the DCR Sweet Snow Trail Design update was actually, a lot of it was actually presented by Jeff. By Jeff Cavallo Monday night. But last Thursday afternoon, DCR was in town. And they're kicking off. The design phase. The trail design of Sweet Snow. That starts on Somerset Ave down up behind Alice's, and goes all the way up, across Center Street to Sandpiper Way. In the design phase will take approximately a year. There'll be stakeholder meetings, there'll be public meetings, the state and DCR together with us, is already taking, an inventory, if you will, of other stakeholders. And in the meeting, we identified Bristol Aggie as a stakeholder. We identified actually a few other groups that I don't, actually have, at the top of my head, but it's an exciting project. It'll go the trail will go out behind here, out behind Town Hall, and all the way up to Sandpiper Way, so that's exciting. And also echoing what everyone mentioned earlier, I just wanted to thank the highway superintendent. I wanted to thank the folks at dispatch, Chief McDonald, our police, and Chief Chris McGee as well. They worked, absolutely amazing this morning. I'm sorry. They worked absolutely amazing this morning. They worked together so all day, and it really made me proud to be working in Dayton. So I just really wanted to thank them.
That's nice to hear.
Thank you.
And Jeff Cavallo did a great job presentation at the
Yes, he
public
did.
meeting that we had regarding all the warrants.
Yeah, his presentation was pretty good too. It was
Yeah,
very
yeah.
good. I'm just teasing you.
Thank
It was
you.
really
Appreciate
good.
it.
Next agenda item is old business, additional recommendations for special town meeting warrant articles.
So yeah, like if I could, Mr. Chairman, like I just wanted to bring up a version of the PowerPoint that we went through on Monday. And there were a handful of articles that we don't have a recommendation from the Board of Selectmen on yet. And I just wanted to bring those up and see if the board had any. I had a recommendation, had any updates on its recommendations. I'll go through them quickly, but I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page heading into Monday night. The first one is Article 7. It's a sewer enterprise fund reimbursement. When we talked originally about this, and when we spoke with the FinCom about 3 or 4 weeks ago now, we talked about taking a look at the indirect costs. And also at the time we thought we were going to be really tight with free cash. Now we have actually learned we're in a better position in free cash. At this point of working with the sewer, working with the sewer department, I've taken a look at the indirect costs. We need to take a bigger look. However, for $10,000, I am recommending that we fund that and then move on with a further look. And I wanted to see if the board wanted if the board wanted to weigh in on on that at all, or what it thought.
Thank you for that. We got more information this past Monday on this, so is the board prepared to make a recommendation?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, well, I'll speak for myself. I'm sorry, Selectman. I don't want to assume anything. Sorry. I motion that the Board of Selectmen recommend Article 7 and the funding be from free cash, as listed in the warrant article, the sum. I don't have that up, sorry.
So I have another spreadsheet. I'm sorry, I'm trying to work on.
Is there a
Oh, it's
second?
right here.
I will second that.
Any discussion?
No,
If
Mr.
not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Selectman Segravas?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye.
Okay.
And the sum was the 10,057.50.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
From free cash. So moving on to Article 11, if my mouse actually works. One of the articles we also don't have a recommendation on, is the Dayton Trails, and I just wanted to see, if the board had any updated, any updated feelings or recommendation on that.
I'm going to support it because I think it's important knowing that. I'm sorry, am I speaking out of turn? I'm so sorry.
Well,
I
you
just
should have
started
addressed it to the
talking.
chairman, but that's all
Okay.
right. I'm going to let it go.
Apologies. Through you, Mr. Chairman. My thoughts on this are, it looks like there will be federal funding for the part that starts at Taunton and goes down through Dayton. So I would like us to be able to at least explore where it would tie up with Taunton and then where it would potentially continue to tie into Somerset at the southern portion. So I am going to support this. But again, I want to say the same thing I did when I spoke about the parking lot reconstruction project for the schools. I do think and feel very strongly that we need to look for grant funding. And that's the other reason why I'm supporting this. As the chairman of the Trails Committee outlined, work needs to be done, options need to be discovered, estimates and costs need to start to be prepared in order to understand which is the best option. And so I am going to support this. But again, the actual funding for the work, So I'm gonna support the feasibility study. So I just wanna say the actual funding for the work, grant options need to be exhausted before I will support any taxpayer funds. But I know that's down the line, but I just wanted to be clear.
Selectman Hull?
I want to clarify my position on this. And Dr. Zagofis, I agree with you. I have reconsidered my position on the following. Mr. Cavallo mentioned at the meeting, and to me, this was very, very important, that they're looking at various options. And in no way would this interfere with the negotiations that are going on, nor threaten the negotiations that are going on for that piece of land in Somerset that has been discussed as potentially holding up the project. I find that very encouraging, that if we're not able to come to a settlement on that land, we still have one, maybe two other routes that we can go. Secondly, and she's been a blessing in the very short time that our new accountant has come on board, to hear that we in fact have additional free cash than what was anticipated is something that makes this feasibility study more
Palatable?
likely to not incur any additional expense to the town that we can't afford to pay. So with that in mind, I don't know if you'll be accepting a motion
I will.
at this time that the Board of Selectmen give a positive recommendation to the Trails Committee seeking up to $40,000 to fund a feasibility study.
Is there a second?
There is a second, yes, I will second that.
Any further discussion? If not, I just want to echo that I agree with both of you that we need to seek grants. If this is approved by the residents November 1st, next Monday, we need to seek grants for any future project there.
May I add one thing to that I was just thinking about, Mr. Chairman, in line with what you were just saying? Since our current, it seems, I'll just speak for our congressman, is very supportive of this project, I would imagine that there may be an appetite once this first round of funding occurs and work starts, that they may even want to continue with federal funding for tying into Dayton at the Taunton-Dayton line and then the Dayton-Somerset line as well. So I think that is an option as well.
That's good.
Which we should explore.
I'm going to call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Selectman Zagofis?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye.
Okay, I will keep moving on. Once I figure out the slideshow I'm on. Okay. The next article is Article 26, which is about the body-worn cameras for the PD. As a follow-up to the informational meeting on Monday night, we received some feedback from our lieutenant, who's here this evening. But what the update is the pricing that we have now, would be honored through November 2021. In that the difference is in where we are now and what we could have in the future is the storage of the footage. And the concern is if that we don't, and that Dayton isn't awarded the state grant. And if we move, everything out in the future we're gonna have to pay for the storage, at a cost of, for all our offices, $3,500 a month. But if we buy it and purchase But if we buy it and purchase it now, the systems that are out there now, we actually have the bandwidth. On the room in our current network to house all this.
We'll just ask Lieutenant Cronin if you want to add anything to this.
Evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Do we
Just a
have
question.
Do we have
Yes.
any
Oh, I'm
questions?
sorry. I thought you were going to make a statement. My apologies. So I just want to make sure sorry. I just want to make sure I understand what we're talking about because there was a lot of detail. So I just want to make it clear for the people watching.
Yeah.
If there is no funding at the special town meeting and we don't get the grant, we lose the pricing and we essentially will have to pay more for something we have to comply with it anyway.
Correct.
If we get the grant, we don't have to use the approved special town meeting funding.
Right.
Okay, so that's what this is a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, it's really just to secure what's been quoted to us right now. And even though the body cam 2 technology is, I'll say current, and it has been being used for about 4 to 5 years, it would fit our needs for the, I would say more longer term, I would say it fit our needs for at least 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
But if we were to go up with this specific vendor, we're looking at a significant increase in capital expense for the storage, because each officer has to have an account.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we could do everything on premises with the storage.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a couple of different moving parts here, but this would suit our needs.
When, have we already applied for the grant?
This started back in early spring, and then with police reform language when that came out and became more of a topic of conversation, the state came out with a $4 million grant. From what I understand, there is a priority towards other agencies. We did put in for it, it was submitted on time, and this is the last week that we'll hear anything if we were successful in getting the award. I'm guessing with today's absence, I'm gonna hold out until Monday maybe, but we did apply, so.
Well, I do support this. As I've said Monday night, it protects the police officers, protects the residents. I think it's a good record of certain situations. So I'm supporting this. So, Selectman Hull?
Regarding state language, requirements for implementation of this throughout the state, because it's my understanding that under the crime bill, that this will be something that will be strongly encouraged or mandated by the state.
It's strongly encouraged now. The only state around us that I'm aware of that has a mandate that has to be fulfilled, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I believe it's Connecticut. Either by the end of this year or early 22, the entire state has to have a program implemented in every agency. So it's
not mandated in Massachusetts.
It's not mandated yet. It's strongly encouraged. The way that reform reads with some of the language, it does protect all sides actually. Towns, citizens, police. It's more transparency. It's a program that has many different positives to it. That I actually think the positives outweigh the negatives on the police side.
Now, how much will this cost if we don't get the grant? I don't mean by the month is.
So the cost in the current quote is $27,350.
A year or just one time?
It'd be one time.
Just the
No,
purchase
one
of
time.
the.
And then we do have a reopening in the CBA, so we have to talk about that with the union as well. But
And that was one of the challenges of the moving parts, is having the union actually open to the discussion to have camps.
Selectman Hull?
So this would mean sitting down with the union again.
yes,
Is there an agreement that this is the only item that will be reopened? Or does it reopen the whole contract or other parts of the contract that might have been contested during negotiations?
so no, like in the CBA, we have a reopener on 2 issues. We like have a reopener, we have a reopener specifically for this, and then we, have like a reopener for a maternity leave policy. Those are the only two. So yeah, if we reopen, it's reopening, specifically issues related to this and nothing else.
So potentially it could be more than $27,300.
Yes.
Yeah, this is just for the 20, what's going before the townspeople is the $27,350 for the body cameras and whatever.
This is
other
equipment, software, and equipment, software, and training.
But if we purchase this, it's going to open up additional expenses.
Yeah, like I think it's very early to say that. Like it opens up a conversation.
When would the use of the body cameras be implemented? This fiscal year or 2022?
I think that depends on the contract, I would think.
Yes.
That, you know, obviously we're gonna purchase them. We're gonna negotiate with the union members, and once that is resolved, hopefully it's resolved, then it will begin.
We'd have to ratify a policy as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Selectman Sakafis.
In the current FY '22 budget, that budget was put together, obviously we didn't have body cams. So my question is the approximately $3,500 a month for essentially the management of the data, the storage of the data. Is there significant funds in the current budget for
That's
that?
not good, we're not gonna pay for that now, right? We're not paying that.
If we're able to secure the equipment now, that's not even in the conversation. And that 150 is on the low end. It's probably around the 180 mark right now through this vendor.
Now,
Selectman Hull.
thinking this from a budget point of view. The implementation of this would not take the actual expenditure above the $27,300, whether it be the contractual expense or the storage expense. Those fees would be in next fiscal year's budget, is that correct? Or would it be this fiscal year's budget?
So the $27,350 would be a one-time only capital expenditure.
Coming out of
Coming out of free cash. Coming out of FY '22 certified free cash.
22.
Yes.
The implementation, once we purchase them, would that be in FY '22 or FY '23?
Like if, it really depends on an agreement, with local 306, but, I'll just say that I understand the financial structure that, has been approved at annual town meeting and special town meeting, and I would really, I would really work and be adamant about actually working within that financial structure for FY '22.
May I answer your question? So your question was about the timing, not the money.
S-
The actual negotiation of the contract took 3-4 months from start to finish. Some of it was timing, it probably could have gone faster. I don't foresee how it would take longer than that to negotiate a memorandum of understanding.
Yep.
So I would imagine, to answer your question, and I apologize, that it would probably start, in my opinion, in FY '22. Because the new fiscal year would start July 1st. There's no way the negotiations should take that long.
Well, here's my concern, and part of it's perception. This is going to cost more than $27,300. You know, potentially there's going to be an increase through the CBA. Potentially, there's going to be a cost of X amount of dollars for the storage.
No, but that's, no.
Not for the store. If
If we buy it right now, the body cam 2, that's the price, the 27.
$150 a month.
No.
No, that's for a different model. That's
That's if
Axon
we
3.
hold off and then we buy on the Axiom 3, Axiom 3, it's $150 a month. That would be equivalent to $3,500 a month. We're not doing that right now. If we agree to, if the town's residents agree to this, we're gonna purchase the cameras. We're going to negotiate with our, which I don't wanna negotiate here, but we're gonna negotiate with the union, and hopefully sooner rather than later, but whatever that figure comes out when we negotiate with the union members, that's an extra burden, unless they have that money in their budget, which they probably don't because they didn't anticipate that. We'll be voting on that at some point to, if we all agree on it, and the union members agree on it, we'll be voting on that at a later point. But the only thing right now is the $27,350. I do agree it's gonna cost more because we're talking about a contract, but we don't know how much that's gonna cost, and I really don't wanna debate what we're thinking. And let a town administrator as well as a representative from the board meet with the union and discuss that. So, any other questions, Selectman Hull?
Not at this, without compromising negotiations. No, I don't.
Just the advantage of approving this now, it's gonna save the taxpayers money, because if we hold off,
Could
prices
save.
Well, most likely will, because the prices are probably gonna go up on these cameras and somewhere down the road, so if we hold off on this.
We may get that grant, and we may not have.
I get that, but still, we hope to get the grant, but if we don't get the grant.
Correct. Well,
if we do it now, it's cheaper for the taxpayers.
Yes, that's the only, I want to be clear, that's the only reason that I'm supportive of this, is because in a worst-case scenario, honoring the quote for body cam 2 will actually save money in the long run. Do I understand that correctly?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question for Mr. Mullin.
Selectman Hull?
$27,300.
Yes.
And following the extra money that we have to work with,
Yep.
will this be a problem?
No, and I've already, so like with the holdback of the $451,000, has been updated with the updated free cash number. Once we back out the 11,000, for the sewer enterprise fund, then we back out another 40,000 for the trails. That brings us down to roughly 400,000. And then when we back out the 27,350, that brings us down to $372,650. And that's a number that I'm still very comfortable with.
Hey, are you, I'm sorry, I don't.
Are we all done? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that the Board of Selectmen recommend Article 26 and that the funding source be free cash.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Selectman Segravas?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye also, so the Board of Selectmen recommends. Are there any more articles?
32.
Yes, just 1 minute, I just want to
Thank
go back.
you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Lieutenant Cronin.
Lieutenant.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Oh, yeah, a couple, that's it.
Why do I have Article 32 on
I
here?
thought we already voted on 32.
I don't know, we already
We
voted
did.
on
I
it.
Yes,
have
you
it.
did, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Same 33.
Same way with
What the heck am I
33.
doing here?
Okay, we're on
34.
We already discussed.
Yep. 35, there isn't a recommendation on at this point.
But we did hear what Selectman Goulart, Assessor Goulart had said at, I believe it was Monday's
Yes.
meeting, article review. So, do you have anything else to add to what she had said?
No, I don't have anything else. The costs, the revenue from the pilot, I believe would be in the ballpark of $610,000 for the 15-year agreement. So I just wanted to revisit based on that information.
I will entertain a motion.
I have a
Yep.
question.
Selectman Hull?
Well, actually, it's not a question, but a statement.
Mhm.
The key to selling this at town meeting is going to be the numbers that Mrs. Goulart said. Those numbers need to be voiced.
She
At-
reads them.
I believe she's prepared to do that. I've asked her to speak
Well,
on
I
this.
don't, I mean,
No, obviously, we can't have a conversation about it, so you don't know. I had a conversation with her, but
Good one.
yes. No, but I did have a conversation, and she's going to present
the
the
numbers.
yeah, the
And she
numbers.
did that last time for one of the other ones. She'll go over the pricing. May I make a statement on, because I have had people that reach out to me and say, why don't you just make them pay the regular tax rate? Well, then they don't come. And then a house sometimes goes up. So I just want to remind everyone that sometimes, you know, these are the choices that get made.
Good.
Yes.
See,
Don't
one
don't
of
let
the
me get between you.
See, one of the things that people don't understand, and that's why transparency and explanation is so important, because even the numbers that Mrs. Goulart has mentioned aren't the true numbers, because there's been, I haven't heard, and I have a little bit of understanding, that there has been no mention of the additional money that the town gets from these agreements as a result of personal property tax on each of those items that is up and above the pilot agreement. Am I correct?
Yeah, like all the personal property, the pilot represents what would be
What would have been, yeah.
exactly
The
what
taxes.
would have been in the personal property. What like in my expertise, like is really a benefit. Like of a pilot, especially with solar. There's no real way. You have to quantify the personal property from a solar. In a solar facility, so it leaves a lot to chance. Like in a lot of communities, if they don't actually have a pilot, then they end up before the appellate tax board with a solar developer.
So the
They're
pilot,
going back and forth on what the personal property is worth.
does the pilot agreement include or not include the personal property tax?
It's a payment in lieu of taxes.
Yes.
So it,
It would be all-encompassing.
I'm saying, okay, so it wouldn't be additional.
It's not additional, no, it's not additional, but,
No, it's all-encompassing.
Correct.
It's a predictable number rather than leaving things to chance.
Okay.
exactly.
Well, does it include, though, the land itself? The owner has to pay taxes on the land itself, separate from the pilot agreement?
It's all-encompassing, I understand.
Okay.
That's why we have a knowledgeable person negotiating that.
Yes, Mrs. Goulart. If I haven't asked already, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that the Board of Selectmen recommend Article 35 as presented.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Selectman Segravas?
Aye.
And Campuchico's an aye, passes. To speed things up a little bit, I'm going to ask that, because the only other ones are the roads?
Yes, I just want to
Okay.
bring those up.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask that, I'll entertain a motion that we approve Article 36, which is Billy's Lane and Tommy's Way. Article 27, which is Sunny's Way. Article, did I say 27, 37. Article 38, Dighton Woods Road. And Article 39, which is Dighton Woods Circle.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve Articles 36, 37, 38, and 39 as prepared on the special town meeting warrant.
Second.
Is there a second? Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Selectman Segravas?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye, and it passes.
One last thing, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay?
Yep.
Can we have an updated one of these emailed to us? Thank you.
Absolutely, tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
8 a.m. No, I'm just kidding.
Selectmen's reports and comments.
May I?
Yes.
Just one positive update, and I don't want to say too much. We finally, the town administrator and I, got into contact with the owner, I believe he's the current owner, of the Spring Street Mills, and and I informed him that Congressman Auchincloss is coming to Dayton for a tour. We wanted to, obviously explain our infrastructure needs and what we're working towards, but also connect him with small business owners and hear what their concerns and needs are, and we'll be there to also hear those concerns. Mr. Sheehan was very excited. I was actually amazed by his response, and he basically said whatever help that we need coordinating this, he would love to be of assistance. Mr. Evans of Pure Oasis did reach out. He's interested and excited to participate. So as we evolve the itinerary, we'll confirm it with Congressman Auchincloss's office, and then we will be sending it out to everybody.
I have a question.
Selectman Hull?
I know we've had some discussion about this. Would either of you have an objection if members of the Dayton Industrial Commission also participated on this tour?
I would think it has to be a kind of a public meeting anyway, right? Because if all...
Well, it's not a meeting because we're not going to discuss anything that comes before us, per se.
My understanding on the open meeting law, that tours are not directly covered by that. We're not negotiating, we're not going to be talking about the business, and we're not voting on anything. It's a fact-finding, informational session. But I know we've had discussions that we had planned, the Industrial Development Commission had planned to participate in tours at both facilities. So it wouldn't be a burden for both facilities. Would you have any objections if the Development Industrial Commission participated?
My thought is, I'm not sure how much space there is in the mill, per se. So my idea would be, since we are inviting State Rep Haddad, State Senator Pacheco, I don't know if they'll have an aide or two with them. I know Congressman Auchincloss would. Town Administrator, we've asked, I think Mr. Aguiar also may attend a part of it. So my preference personally would be not knowing how many people and not wanting to have too many people so we can actually have a conversation with the congressman. If you would be okay with being, since you're the liaison on the Development Industrial Commission, you being that representative and relaying back to the congressman anything that happens. And also, you may be able to gather some feedback, questions, comments, concerns from your members that we could also bring to the congressman on the tour. But my concern is just having too many people in one space.
Okay.
And this is for November?
Yes, November 12th. But I don't want to speak for anybody.
So I believe next Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon, we're having a conversation with the congressman's office, and we can bring up and ask.
Yes.
And ask them the ideal number of people.
Okay, that's good.
And then proceed from there. We want to make this work for.
So apparently you picked my wife's birthday, as well as...
Not me, it was the congressman.
As well as our 50th wedding anniversary. So I hope to attend. My wife has given me the okay to attend. But what a day to pick. That's all I can say.
Dr. Sigafis, I feel confident that we will be able to work with the Development Industrial Commission on either scheduling another tour, maybe one that the planning board would also like to come with us, or bringing feedback to that committee.
We absolutely
So
should,
I think we can,
because these
we can
are,
make this work.
I think these are the types of conversations that are pertinent to what may be needed in an economic development plan for the town of Dayton. So I think that the feedback of the business owners is one of the most relevant things. So I definitely think we should report back for sure.
And you can mention to them that you plan on scheduling a meeting, and they can tell you on your
Yes,
tour,
and
what's a good date, or dates?
I,
that are
I
good?
know, having spoken to one of the
It's not-
entrepreneurs of the two groups, that they have extended an invitation to the Industrial Development Commission to tour their facility at a separate time, but I was just trying to, we could incorporate it, but I think doing it, we can make this work.
And I want to be very clear as well. Just like I was able to reach out and put everything together for this tour for the congressman, if the Dayton Development Industrial Commission wants, I'm happy to reach out to Mr. Sheehan and set up a separate tour for
That would be
them as
wonderful,
well.
because I don't know Mr. Sheehan.
I didn't know him either, but he seems like a great guy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other selectmen's reports?
None.
Not at this.
If not, we're going to go to new business. We will get to you. You're the next item after this item. I'll entertain a motion to appoint Brenda Herbeck to the Capital Outlay Committee. We had an opportunity at our last meeting to interview her. She's a great candidate for this position. She has a lot of experience. She's been a past treasurer in town, so I will entertain a motion.
Treasurer,
Chairman?
collector, and clerk.
Mr. Chairman,
when it was
I'd like to
combined.
make a motion to appoint Brenda Herbeck to the Capital Outlay Committee.
I will second that, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion?
I just wanted to thank Mrs. Herbeck for, again, another person we reined back in. But thank you very much in all
Person
sincerity.
who went into retirement and then
They
come
thought
right-
they did.
brought it right back in.
Thank you, Mrs. Herbeck.
Thank,
I got a second on that motion, I guess. Did I get a second? I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
aye.
Selectman Segravas?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. Next agenda item is Connection LLC updated host community agreement. Who's going to represent? Thank you. Come to the podium.
Hi.
You can identify
Nice to see
yourself.
you again.
Thank you for
Hi,
being
everybody.
so patient, but you
Oh,
got to
of
see
course.
our government at work. And it's like watching paint dry. But
I was just telling you, your lieutenant, how much I love this town. I mean,
Aw.
you know, the things that I hear every time I'm in here, there's always so many positive initiatives going on. It's just, it really is just a splendid place, and I mean that sincerely, so.
it's a great community.
It absolutely is. Valerio Romano with VGR Law Firm. I'm the attorney for One Connection. I'm joined by Ray Blinn, our Director of Security and Compliance, by Lisa Fonseca and Michael Fonseca, and also by Don Gardner. So thank you very much for having us this evening. Some of this I'm going to leave up to Michael. I appreciate the chair and Michael for setting this up and us being here. You know, we're really we're looking forward to participating with Earth Day next year. I've heard, you know, it's interesting listening to these budget things when you're a cannabis company coming into a town, because we're eager and you know, think we can help with some of those items next year that you have to purchase. I saw a police cruiser, I think, on there. That's the kind of thing that I think our money goes well to. So hopefully, I don't want to go on too long. I know you've been itching to use that gavel. So, so with that, through the chair and through Michael, I'm going to turn over to the town administrator. But I can go through the host community agreement, any changes, however you'd like us to proceed.
My understanding is just the major changes are just you are now a LLC.
That's really all it is, right? So when we first did this, the Department of Public Health was the regulatory agency for medical. So I made those sort of ministerial changes. I did not touch the payment section, right? So there's no financial amendment whatsoever. It was just really administrative stuff. You know, frankly, I'm not even sure we had to do this, but I think in the spirit of being, you know, just having everything out there and super cleaned up, you know, obviously it's a great idea, so. I can run through the changes too if you'd like. I have.
You know, I don't have anything really to add. I think the changes really speak for themselves, and they're, really they're perfunctory in nature. It's just like updating, like who the representatives from the company are, their addresses, and the changes that have been made since 2018, where a lot. Of the regulations are not held by DPH anymore, they're held by the
Cannabis Commission.
held by the CCC.
Yeah.
That's essentially what all the changes are.
Yeah, it's just administrative stuff to make sure that they reflect the current state of the rules and, you know, the company.
Selectman Hull, you have a question?
Actually, I have two questions and a statement. Mr. Mullen, regarding the permitting process,
Yes.
has One Connection, are there any boards that One Connection needs to see before their occupancy permit is granted?
No, they they're ready to go. Like at this point, they went to the Board of Health. I think 2 weeks ago this week. They got a retail sales permit that I believe was contingent, on a certificate of completion from the building inspector, and then with a final license from the CCC. So they should be good to go.
Thank you.
That was a big moment.
That was.
Glad to
Yes,
be
it
there.
was.
It was exciting to come back and speak with the town again about what, since the Fonsecas have gotten on board, this thing has just
I know,
gone
like a
100 miles an
rocket
hour, and so it's exciting to come back with their participation because we're in a great spot.
Well, I'm looking forward to this business opening up in town. We need more businesses. I've always thought that this cannabis should have been legal a long time ago, and I'm glad that the state has turned around and decided it's okay, and now the town is going to get some revenue. And I've offered to be there on opening day to assist in cutting the ribbon.
We'd love to have you.
So
Absolutely. Anybody from the town, but we'd love to have you, truly. I mean, I think it would be fun, We'll get a big scissor.
Maybe the first customer too.
Great.
Just so you
No,
know.
it's sort of by going through the ballot box, it's legislating by gunpoint, but finally it had to happen,
And more states are
Yes.
are doing it, and hopefully the federal government changes their position on it too.
It's almost philosophy talking about the federal government at this point.
So if there's no further question, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that the Board of Selectmen approve the proposed amended changes to the host community agreement with One Connection LLC as presented this evening.
Is
Second?
there a second? Any further discussion?
I do have
Yes.
I do have one, yes. This is for the adult use. Will we be doing a separate motion for the medical?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and the medical one follows in the packet as well.
And it's basically the
Yeah.
same administrative
Yeah, exactly.
stuff that we talked about, yep.
This is for adult use.
Yes. Selectman Hull?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I attended the Board of Health meeting. I was told that the medical section wasn't going to be opening right away.
Yeah, there's going to be a lag for medical, given the fact that at the Cannabis Control Commission, a medical entity has to be vertically integrated, meaning within that company, in up to 2 locations, you're required to cultivate, product manufacture, and dispense. And if we were to go through the time and expense to complete construction of cultivation and product manufacturing before opening, it would be another year, really. It just takes a long time, maybe not a year with Mike doing it, but certainly a number of months. And so our goal now is to get the adult use retailer open, but also continue to pursue medical and to continue moving that forward. He's eager to get cultivation built out. We were just talking about it. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and Mr. Fonseca can speak more to that if it pleases, through the chair.
Yes, please. We'll still get the motion, but
Thank you, sir.
we'll get an answer here.
Good evening. My name is Michael Fonseca. My wife Lisa, we purchased this from the Caruso family. And the medical, he's absolutely right. So I'm in a process of trying to get one room open right now to cultivate, and I will use that for my cloning, I'll use that for my vegetation state and for my flower state to try to speed up this process. But just so you understand, the front, which is the dispensary, is approximately $3.5 million. The back is another 10. And there's no banks. Here I am. So I've been in construction for 36 years. I work very hard for what we own, and we're going to take it and we're putting it into this for our kids. And so I'd love to be able to open up, but I don't want to wait another year. So this is why we're coming forward now. So the licenses, the host agreements are both, and we also have with the state, so both agreements need to be, were signed over to us.
Now, regarding the medical, approval is subject not only to this board, but also the state, is that correct?
Yes, the Cannabis Control Commission, so that was one of the administrative changes, took over from the Department of Public Health, and you could see that in the red line version that we switched the DPH to the CCC.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could we break this into two separate motions?
That's what I did.
You just did the recreational.
Yeah,
Is that what-
adult use.
is it-
Just the recreation?
I'll
Now,
do a
will we be-
separate motion for that.
Then we'll make a second motion on the medical.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, since you're not growing anything right now, you'd be buying the products from other
Yeah,
growers?
we'd be
and then-
buying from wholesalers, so I mean, I'm fortunate enough to, as a co-author of the ballot initiative, and I represent a lot of the companies in Massachusetts, so we have access to wholesale, and of course, and Mike and Lisa know a lot of people too, but we certainly have access to wholesale product. It's as affordable as it can be. It's very expensive in Massachusetts right now, but yeah,
And we're cultivators in Rhode Island.
yeah. So they have the
We own a
experience
facility
doing
in
it,
Rhode Island.
yeah.
Oh, good to know.
I have a question.
Yes, Selectman Zografas.
Regarding the medical marijuana host community agreement, if it takes a couple months, so I see we updated the dates because these were originally signed, I remember, in 2018. If it takes a couple months, you won't have to come back before us to change the date on the medical one, right? Okay, just want to make sure that won't hold you up.
Selectman Hull?
My intent wasn't to hold it up. I just wanted to bring this up so that when the motion is made, that it is language specific, subject to
Yeah.
approval of
Yeah, no, my comment wasn't about you holding up, it was just more like,
me personally.
when, when they're ready, and it says October 2021, if they're really ready in, I don't know, March 2022, is that gonna impact them? But it sounds like not, so.
It doesn't, and the agreement also 5 years from commencement of operations and whatnot, so,
That would take care of
it's
the
not like
payments and
we're
stuff,
running
yeah.
out of time, we're wasting time now, yeah.
We could make our motion subject to the approval of the state, so that it could be any date.
Actually, through the chair, if I might, no, so it has to go the other way around for both medical and adult use.
You need
We
this
have
for
to have
that.
the host community agreement before we can actually get the approval from the state, so.
Okay.
And you were able to get this, if I'm correct, you were able to get this far down the road because we did have these
That's exactly
on
right.
the books, okay?
And then Mr. Mullen started speaking with Mike, and they said, well, why don't we clean these things up, and let's come in and talk to the board anyway, and tell us your progress and whatnot. And we accomplished a lot of that at the Board of Health meeting. But, they thought it was in their wisdom to come in and do this, and so, yep, we're here. But we got this far because we already had these approved, exactly.
Transparency is what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Appreciate it. So we did get a second on that motion?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna, if there's no further question, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Selectman Zografas?
Aye.
And Campuchico was an aye.
Mr. Chairman, if you're entertaining
Yes, I am.
motions? I'm sorry?
Yes,
Are
I
you-
am,
Oh, okay,
yes.
sorry. I entertain a motion to approve that the Board of Selectmen approve the amended host community agreement with One Connection LLC for the siting of a medical marijuana business in the town of Dayton as prepared this evening.
Could we amend that to include subject to state approval?
Well, but they need
Yeah,
this.
if we
to-
do
to
this
even
and they
get
deny
the-
it, then they don't have that, the host agreement falls apart.
And through the chair, everything is subject to state approval, right? If we sell any cannabis or grow any cannabis without the approval from the state, we just, everything is always.
But my understanding is if we didn't have this or didn't grant this, then you couldn't get the medical
That's right.
marijuana license.
That's right.
Okay,
We're
so-
gonna, yes, that's right.
Okay.
There a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, they'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Selectman Zografas?
Aye.
And Campuchico was an aye.
And just because Mike mentioned the full transparency, and thank you very much, it was wonderful. So the next step for the medical side is we will be asking Mr. Mullen, there's a one-page host community agreement certification form. And so we'll execute that, and he'll execute that, and then we'll get that to the state as well. For adult use, we don't need to do that, but that will just be for medical, so we can keep that process moving along.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
very much.
Nice seeing you again.
Yes. Happy I didn't get the gavel.
It's coming though.
Thank you. Yeah.
We're taking something out of Mr. Higgins isn't here into
So you like, yeah, we printed it out, but we printed out.
Sure. You talking about going to correspondence?
Oh, a version of the old.
Yes, I mean, he was planning on speaking. He had mentioned that.
Yeah, I don't know if he wants me to read the letter or, is that what you?
Thank you.
I would,
Nancy left a message regarding pilots. I didn't see it till just now. Maybe at the next public input.
Okay, yeah. So, Mr. Higgins, you wanted to speak on your letter, or do you want me to read your letter, or?
to make a motion to take it out of.
Yeah, so we're gonna take it out of order, the correspondence, okay?
So moved.
Second.
Sorry,
Any discussion?
Selectman Hull.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Selectman Hull? Selectman Segravas?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. So I'm gonna read the letter, and if anybody has any questions, they can ask whatever they want. So this letter is dated email is dated October 25th, 2021. Dear Mr. Pacheco, Ms. Brady, I have attached a letter from my law firm drafted at the request of Town of Dayton resident Daniel G. Higgins regarding our legal opinion that the proposed Article 5 amendment to the general bylaws represents an unconstitutional restriction on free speech. The hard copies will follow through the regular mail. Mr. Higgins would like this letter distributed to the full Board of Selectmen and made part of the public record. Thank you. This letter is from attorneys Howard Leno and Attorney McCarthy. They're out of Wayland, Mass. Dear Board of Selectmen, our law firm, Leno and McCarthy, a practice that concentrates on public sector labor law and civil rights matters, has been retained by Daniel G. Higgins, a resident of Dayton, Massachusetts, to offer legal opinion on the constitutionality of the following proposed amendment to the town's general bylaws scheduled for a vote before the town meeting on November, it says November 4th, but it's November 1st, so everybody knows it's November 1st. Article 5 reads, to see if the town will vote to amend the general bylaws to add the following new article, flag bylaw. No person shall fly or display a commemorative or organizational flag other than A, the United States flag, B, the Massachusetts state flag, C, the official town of Dayton flag, D, the official flag of all branches of the U.S. military and armed forces, and or E, the POW MIA flag on a town flagpole or in any other such manner located at the town hall or town-based land or town-maintained facilities. In short, as discussed further below, our considered legal opinion is that the proposed amendment is clearly unconstitutional as a restriction on the content of speech permitted on Dayton public property. In the event this bylaw is passed as drafted above, it is likely that the Attorney General's office for the state of Massachusetts would declare the amendment unlawful and that a court challenge would result in the amendment being declared unconstitutional with a likely award of attorney's fees to the parties bringing such action against the town of Dayton. The reasons for this are simple. The United States Supreme Court has repeatedly held that any effort by the governmental body to impose restrictions on the content of speech and presumptive unconstitutional. The only exception to this principle is the concept of content neutrality, meaning that the government imposition of restrictions on free speech and free expression is only permissible when the government body places reasonable restrictions on the time, place, or manner of protected speech, and also provided that, 1, the restrictions imposed are justified without reference to the content of the regular speech, 2, that the restrictions are narrowly tailored to serve a significant governmental interest, and 3, that the restrictions leave open ample alternative channels for communication of the information. See General Clark versus Community for Creative Nonviolence, 469 U.S. 104, 1984. Reed versus the Town of Gilbert, 135 S Court, I assume S Court means Supreme Court, 2218 in 2015. These same principles have been adopted by the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court, interpreting Article 16 of the Massachusetts Declaration of Rights, commonly known as the Massachusetts State Constitution, Commonwealth versus Lucas, 472, Mass. 387, 2015. In fact, in Lucas and other cases, the SJC has often imposed even greater restrictions on the right of Massachusetts governmental bodies to regulate speech under the Mass Declaration of Rights. Clearly from the record, news coverage, and other reporting media, the intent of this overly broad, unconstitutional flag amendment has its origin and has been pursued in response to the dispute in the town regarding the flying of a gay pride flag or banner. Clearly, the intent of this proposed amendment is to restrict content, sentiment, and supportive principles behind the gay pride banner. While such action by the town may also be violative of other protected rights under the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment and the anti-discrimination laws of Massachusetts, the proposed amendment is facially invalid from the strict standpoint of unlawful restriction of speech. The basis of this prohibition against restricting free speech and expression flow from the First Amendment of the United States Constitution that provides that Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. Under the 14th Amendment, municipal ordinances are within the scope of this limitation on governmental authority. The First Amendment forbids the government to regulate speech, including flags and signage, in ways that favor some viewpoints or ideas at the expense of others. In reviewing cases of this kind, the Supreme Court requires application of what is generally known as the strict scrutiny test. Content-based regulations, i.e. rules that either allow or exclude speech based on the subject matter being expressed, are deemed presumptively unconstitutional for a public forum and only pass muster if they are least restrictive means to further a compelling government interest. As such, content-neutral time, place, and manner regulations of a public forum are valid only if they are narrowly tailored to serve a substantial government interest and they leave open ample alternative means for communicating the same information. The court has been clear that signs, flags, posters, and other forms of expression promoting a political viewpoint, belief, position, or opinion are a fundamental form of expression protected by the First Amendment and are entitled to the highest form of protection. Any effort to regulate free expression by an ordinance or bylaw that specifies the content of which is permitted and therefore what content is not permitted, as does the proposed Article 5 bylaw above, is presumptively unconstitutional. To be clear, the time, place, and manner doctrine applies to both public forum property where the government acts as the owner of the property and to cases where the government is acting as a regulator of private property. See generally members of City Council of Los Angeles versus taxpayers for Vincent, 466 U.S. 789, 1984. The underpinning of these guidelines is intended to ensure that laws or restrictive ordinances must have a neutral effect on speech. The typical sign ordinance that is truly a time, place, and manner regulation without regard to the content of signs or flags does not present a neutrality problem. A time, place, and manner regulation is a law that regulates activities to protect government interests unrelated to speech. An example is an ordinance that contains limitations on the size, number, and height of a sign or flags. Because such ordinances have a neutral effect on speech, time, place, and manner, regulations are usually constitutional under the Free Speech Clause. Article 5 above, as currently phrased, is clearly not an ordinance simply regulating time, place, and manner restrictions on sign or flags. By expressly denoting the content of what speech is permitted on flags displayed on public property in the town of Dayton, the 5 categories listed as permissible, this proposed ordinance is clearly content-based and not content-neutral. For these reasons, the ordinance would clearly represent an unconstitutional restriction of free speech. While the above analysis sufficiently explains why the proposed ordinance would not pass constitutional muster, and no further reasons are necessary, the proposed ordinance would also fail because the language of the ordinance is impermissibly broad and far too vague for constitutional regulation of speech. Dating back to the seminal decision on this principle, the United States Supreme Court explained in Connolly v. versus General Construction, 296 U.S. 385, 1926. First due process requires that a law provide fair warning and provide a person of ordinary intelligence a reasonable opportunity to know what is prohibited so that he may act accordingly. Second, the law must provide explicit standards to law enforcement officials, judges, and juries so as to avoid arbitrary and discriminatory application. Third, a vague statute can inhibit the exercise of First Amendment freedoms and may cause speakers to steer far wider of the unlawful zone than if the boundaries of the forbidden areas were clearly marked. The Supreme Court has consistently applied these standards in a host of cases involving municipal ordinances that prohibit vagrancy, noise, and other efforts at regulating public conduct and speech. As such, the language of the proposed ordinance can easily be interpreted to prevent any type of display of any type on any medium by any person. The closing language on a town flag or any other such matter located at the town hall or town-based land or town-maintained facilities is so vague and so overbroad that no reasonable person could know that the lawful boundaries of where this ordinance extends or what type of conduct is prescribed. Does this mean that a person cannot wear a shirt with a specific message or carry a commemorative or organizational flag on town property, cannot carry a sign with an unapproved message, cannot wear a hat with an unapproved message on their hat, cannot display a bumper sticker on a car while riding down town-maintained roads, cannot place a commemorative marker or flag beside a grave in a town-maintained cemetery, and a host of other such expressions of freedom of opinion, Let me read that again. In a town-maintained cemetery and a host of other such expressions of opinion at any time or place on public property in the town of Dayton. For all of the above reasons, we respectfully suggest that the proposed Article 5 amendment to the town's general bylaw represents an unconstitutional restriction on free speech. Respectfully submitted, Howard Leno from Leno and McCarthy. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Mr. Higgins?
No, let me just say that I found the proposed bylaw to be rather vague and clearly directed at the citizens of Dayton, not at town actions, which is why I asked for a legal opinion from my own attorney. I've since then also talked to the Massachusetts Division of the American Civil Liberties Union, and they are in agreement with my attorneys. And I've also spoken to the Attorney General's office, and although they have not taken a position on something that's still pending, they assured me that they do have 90 days to review any town bylaws, and if it is found to be unconstitutional or illegal in any way, it will be rejected. So.
Okay. Selectman Hull.
What I'm about to say is in no way a comment on the legal basis of this letter, but that would be something a judge would do. I have a responsibility to the taxpayers of the town of Dayton to protect its interests and the legal expenses that could be incurred if this is challenged in court. As a trained paralegal, I would comment, however, that this letter is well organized and presents a logical argument against this law. What I'm asking, and I'm aware the town council reviewed this. My understanding was in the wording and how it would be placed on the warrant. He did not, and correct me if I'm wrong, give an opinion of the constitutionality of this amendment.
May I?
Could I finish, please?
Mhm.
What I would ask the town council prior to the meeting be asked to give an opinion on the constitutionality of this bylaw. And at the end of this discussion, I would put that in the form of a motion. I don't know if I will get a second, but I think that would be the wise approach. And one, for the sake of transparency. Two, we have an obligation to all the taxpayers in this community not to get ourselves involved in a lawsuit. Personally, I think even in spite of the wishes of a majority of people who may come to a town meeting that notoriously has not had even 10% of the total population of the town of Dayton attend. I don't know what Attorney Gay or Attorney Costa would rule, but I think this presentation is one side of the argument, and I'd be curious to see what town council would say. And I would feel more comfortable if the voters heard the whole picture and made an informed decision, rather than either a one-sided, because this will be read into the meeting, I would assume, to the town meeting.
I didn't plan on reading it
I
myself.
would assume maybe Mr. Higgins will maybe not read the whole thing,
He
but
may
maybe
speak on
there
it,
to
but-
speak, yeah,
yeah.
summarize
Because
that.
we've, by including in the packet yesterday, the public has
It's
access.
a public document, correct.
It's a public
yeah.
document, they have access to it, and that's why it's on the agenda for today.
I just would like the people, the voters, to hear both sides. And Mr., I can't speak for Attorney Gay, but he may come in and concur with this.
May I?
Yes.
So my first point is that, and just more a point of order, the council didn't, as I understand, review the language. They mostly checked and verified to make sure that enough signatures were had so that the article could be placed on the warrant. The reason why council didn't review the language is because essentially council can't review or give an opinion because it wasn't something that was placed on the agenda by a municipal entity. It came from the residents of Dayton. It didn't come from the Board of Selectmen or the Planning Board or the, so they essentially cannot give an opinion. They can't weigh in either way.
So
like
what
my
you're
house.
saying is that there is no way in this particular situation for us to advise the voters that they may be entering into an agreement by voting, if it should pass, something that would be unconstitutional and could result in litigation and an expense to the town.
That, may I answer?
Sure.
Well,
And there's no good answer. That's a chance that the voters have to take.
okay.
The reason why council reviews articles that come from the municipal entities, planning, zoning, Board of Selectmen, Board of Health, is because it's coming from us. We have, the liability is on us to get the language right. So that's why we run it by town council. So it's really just a matter of it's a matter of how the article got on there, honestly. We don't review bylaws. I said at the meeting that the Board of Selectmen, since I've been here, doesn't give a recommendation on something that comes from the people.
No, I understand, but a legal opinion, I thought.
But that's why a lot of the times these bylaws are run by attorneys before they make it on there because of the liability issue. And again, I'm not giving my opinion either way on the article. I would obviously defer to someone that has more legal training than me. And the last comment that I would make, and this is not any slight or to be pejorative toward our town council, but Attorney Gay, as I understand, is not a constitutional lawyer. So I'm not sure how valuable, and again, not being demeaning, how valuable that opinion may be.
In defense of Attorney Gay, he was asked to do a specific thing, and he did. And secondly, having known Attorney Gay for 40 years as an attorney, representing the city of Taunton, I know if it was something that he had no expertise, he would farm it out
He
to
does.
somebody who did.
He does. But on this matter, we can't because, again, it's not something that came from a board or a committee or a commission or some town related organization. Sorry, Mr. Administrator.
So yeah, like, and if I come, Mr. Chair, I do, I'll have the text of the response letter that Attorney Gay, he sent back regarding his review of all the warrant articles on October 5th of this month, and in his letter on page 1, he mentioned, quote, as to Article 5. As to Article 5, the proposed bylaw the proposed flag bylaw to be included in the town's general bylaws, we do not have any concerns as to the legal validity of this proposal. We do note that this bylaw, if it passes, would be construed to apply to the Selectmen because under Massachusetts law, in the absence of any other legal authority, it would be, it is the Board of Selectmen that are responsible for flying flags on town property.
Okay, but that makes it sound like he gave an opinion, which you've said publicly that's not what they do when they review petition bylaws. So what are you saying? I had previously commented on how I understood resident bylaws really to be construed by council, and in my other experiences in other towns, but in here it does actually read that he did provide somewhat of an opinion, but I still actually have a question whether he mentioned that we do not have any concerns as to the legal validity of the proposal. Does that mean the legal validity of how the petition really came to be and how the petition actually ended up on the warrant? Because that, in terms of the legal validity, that is how the petition ended up on the warrant because it's a resident petition. And it requires 100 signatures in order to move forward. Oh, sorry.
Will Attorney Gay be at this?
Yes.
Yes.
He will personally be there?
Yes.
I will note that he used the term legal validity and not constitutionality. He's not making the point that I think Selectman Hull was asking him to make.
Yes. I don't want to speak for Attorney Gay, but my understanding, my interpretation of what he wrote in the letter, is he was speaking to the legal validity, of the resident petition on the special town meeting warrant.
It had the number of signatures to make it to the warrant.
That is my understanding.
Certified registered voters' signatures. That's what he was checking on, making sure. Selectman Hull.
Mr. Chairman, this evening, a communication was read into the public record. I am formally asking for a copy of that communication under the Freedom of Information Act.
Well, you don't have to do that. We have it, right? You can just give
Could
it
I
to
have a copy of that?
So I sent it out to everybody on October 5th too, and yes.
Resend.
Okay.
Yeah, resend it. Yeah, I resend it to everybody.
Thank you.
Yep.
So as everybody
October
knows.
6th?
October 5th.
Yeah.
October 5th, thank you.
I have opposed this article from day one. I'm not afraid to say that. It would be up to the petitioners, if they may have legal opinion on it, for all I know. I mean, they've indicated that they have some legal, it was their opinion, but some legal concerns about flying other flags, so they get to speak on that. If Mr. Higgins wishes to speak on his letter, he doesn't have to read the whole thing, obviously, it's a long letter, but he can speak on that also, and I'm willing to let the residents decide, and if there's consequences, financial consequences, that was the decision of the residents, that they...
Of the legislative body, yep.
Right, that they voted to, say, for example, they vote to approve this, and if there's any challenge to it, obviously, there may be some challenge to it. The Attorney General may make a decision on it. If the Attorney General allows it, resident can also sue on this, and there may be repercussions financially for the town, but it's going to be the residents who are going to make the decision on this, on this bylaw.
I believe Mrs. Goulart had a question.
It was
While
about the
we were
pilot.
discussing, she raised a
It was
hand.
about the pilot agreement.
Yes, she did.
No, it's on this issue too.
Lower the volume, please.
Would she-
Mrs. Goulart, yes, you can speak, Mrs. Goulart.
Okay, what, Dr. Z said, is correct. Speaking of experience I had with something like this, when you have the certified number of signatures, you can't change anything on what's presented. If they're, you're like this, guys, I couldn't red pencil it, all right? Literally, there were grammatical errors and things in an article that was presented for the Board of Selectmen to be included. And because of that, I specifically asked Attorney Gate, can I correct this? It's not even good English. He says, you can't touch it. It went on the warrant the way it did. I don't, at this point in time, see a problem as far as, you're exactly right. It was brought by petition. The Board of Selectmen had no choice except to put it on there. If it passes, and certainly during discussion, Mr. Higgins can get up and speak. And by the way, in the town, it's not ordinances, it's bylaws. So your law firm is confusing cities with towns. But anyhow, the vote will be taken. If it's passed, it has to go to the Attorney General's office. And if the AG says, no way, it's done. Now, they can come back at another meeting with another words or whatever. So I think it's premature to start saying the town's going to get sued and there's going to be liability. It would appear to me the best thing to do is let it go and let it get, if it passes, let it go to the AG's office, because if in fact Mr. Higgins' counsel has had some kind of interaction, I'll say, with the AG's office, and there's a chance that there's something wrong with it, even if it's not wrong in its entirety, they're going to stop it. They're going to say, no, it's not valid, and that does it. That is not going to bring on legal suits or anything else. Take advantage, excuse me, of the free review you're going to get from the Attorney General's office. By the same token, if it is approved by the Attorney General's office and citizens want to question it based on constitutionality, that's a whole different ballgame. We aren't at that stage right now, okay? I really think that the AG is the best possible solution at this point in time, okay? And what Attorney Gay, I believe, is saying is that, no, he's not a constitutional attorney. It was brought by petition. If the Board of Selectmen can't even make grammatical corrections, as I said I have experience with, I don't see Attorney Gay saying, this can't go. It was brought by petition. And quite frankly, it's probably a good idea for him not to say, it's good, it's bad, it's whatever. Let it play out.
Thank you, Mrs. Goulart. Anything else you want to add, Mr. Higgins?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Going back to the regular agenda items, new business, review, discuss, and act on a letter to Congressman Auchincloss regarding HR 3728 Fire Station Construction Grant Acts, and we were given some information that dated June 15, 2021. Who wishes to speak on this?
This is mine, so I'll speak on it. I came across, as you know, let me back up. As you know, we have some growing pains with the fire station, I should say specifically. Updates, upgrades, infrastructure upgrades, all that needs to be discussed and it needs to be reviewed thoroughly. So I came across this recent fire station construction grants that was introduced into the House of Representatives. I could not find anything on whether or not there was a parallel bill proposed in the Senate. But I did think that given our fire department needs and our fire station needs and our infrastructure needs with DFD, that we may want to join in along with the fire chief, who has already indicated his own, has already sent his own correspondence to ask our representative, Congressman Jake Auchincloss, to sign on to co-sponsor this. My idea was, rather than just have the chief and maybe firefighters doing this on their own, let's have a coordinated effort, since we obviously would love to have the federal government fund as much of it as they possibly could. There used to be, and I'm sure Lieutenant Cronin remembers, there used to be Department of Homeland Security funding for things like fire stations. That obviously is not occurring anymore. That was a thing of, I believe, the 2000s. But I did just want to give a little background. U.S. Representatives Bill Pascrell, Mike Bost, and Brian Fitzpatrick, some Democrats, some Republicans, this is bipartisan, introduced the Fire Station Construction Grants Act, H.R. 3728. The bill would authorize a one-time $1 billion appropriation to be administered by the Federal Emergency Management Agency to help local fire and EMS agencies modify, upgrade, and build new stations and/or training facilities. So my proposal to the board this evening is that we draft a letter to send to Congressman Auchincloss, our federal representative, and sign it jointly with the fire chief, and urge Congressman Auchincloss to at least sign on to the bill and co-sponsor it. It would be very helpful for the town of Dayton if we could get any money out of this.
Is it a motion?
Mr. Chairman, if you're entertaining motions, I motion that the Board of Selectmen draft a letter jointly with Fire Chief Christopher McGee to send to Congressman Jake Auchincloss, urging him to sign on to H.R. 3728.
Second?
Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Selectman Sokranfas?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye also.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Our next item is, there's a facility request to use Old Town Hall for our annual tree lighting ceremony. As we know, weren't able to do it last year because of COVID, and they're now asking to do it again this year. It's a little different. They're going to do it at Old Town Hall, not physically here, but they're going to use it probably in the back there, and they'll be lighting the tree. And we'll get to, the residents will get to hear us sing. We're all going to do a solo.
Don't tell them that. They'll never show up.
No, they tend to laugh. At least when I'm singing anyway. So has everybody looked at the application?
Yes, sir.
I did note that the liability insurance wasn't signed, but do they sign that after we approve it?
Isn't the Holiday Committee, that's a Town of Dayton organization. Why would they have a separate liability insurance?
That is probably why they didn't sign it,
Yeah,
if I had to guess.
the Holiday Committee is a Town of Dayton committee.
Yeah,
just
no,
like-
and I'm familiar with it. I spoke to the chairperson the other day about that, but they provided that information, so we just wanted. It says indemnification agreement, we tree lighting committee group agree to pay for any damage to the facilities incurred. So that's, yes.
My understanding is that the permitting process will not be completed until that, other committees that have asked for, whether it be liquor or food, that until the liability is, certificate from the insurance company is produced, my understanding is that final approval by would it be Mr. Aguirre or Mr. Pilling would not be granted until that is put.
Yeah, Mr. Pilling.
They already signed off.
Mr. Pilling has signed off, Jim Aguirre signed off, everybody signed off except the Board of Selectmen. I believe it's just the Board of Selectmen.
May I ask you a question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Selectman Hull is right. When there is a liquor license, food permit needed, yes, you do have to get one of those, but I don't think they're doing any of that. It just says caroling visit, so I don't think that's needed. I don't think they need to be indemnified. Oops, can we ask?
They would if somebody gets injured or whatever.
I noted, it's noted by Mr. Pilling, need temporary food permit.
Okay, so they do.
So I'm
Yeah,
wondering.
they're going, yes, they're gonna be selling, or offering food. I know they offer hot chocolate and cookies and stuff like that, so that's probably what that's about.
May I ask a question?
Sure, sure.
Mrs. Goulart?
Yes,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
the tree lighting committee, since inception, although it's not, if you will, an appointed committee by the Board of Selectmen, it is an accepted activity in the town of Dayton on behalf of the town of Dayton. They don't need liability insurance because they are covered under the town's liability. So if a pedestrian trips and falls out there in the dark, it's our liability insurance. The reason they need a food permit is because that's a public health thing, okay? Mr. Aguirre would be looking at it from his perspective. But unlike other groups coming in, they don't have to have liability insurance because actually they're covered under the town's liability. If they were a private group saying, can we use the town grounds because we want to have a big public Christmas party, that's a different story. But I think we're in our, I'm gonna guess maybe 25th year or more. So it's kind of not an established thing. So they're asking you to do it, so I guess it would be strange if you didn't give them permission considering everything.
Yeah, no, my only concern was that they had, in the, what they presented to us, indemnification agreement, it says, we, the tree lighting committee group, agree to pay for any damage to the facility, but they're not going, because they're gonna be covered by the town, but I'm just wondering why that was filled up. I'm definitely not opposed to it.
No, I know. We want to make the right vote, and I just want
Yes,
to say.
and I just wanted, because this is Mr. Hull's, Selectman Hull's first opportunity to sing in front of the residents, so I'm looking
He'll go
forward to that,
first.
so I would be the last person to deny this.
Mrs. Goulart and I sing every Saturday
Oh, is that right?
at St. Nicholas Church, so I look forward.
I did not know that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would just comment further. Food permit, I think, really is something that they are, they're doing because the Lions Club actually provides hot dogs and stuff. So the Lions Club is a separate entity. It's just that they're there helping out.
Sure.
So that's why the food permit thing's there.
Thank you. So I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve the tree lighting committee's request to use facilities as indicated and proposed this evening.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, Selectman Hull, how do you vote?
Aye.
Selectman Segravas?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye.
I will say, it would save us time if we just listened to me first and didn't have to go to Selectman Goulart, but I'm just kidding. I'm just.
I would have stayed if I knew stuff was coming up, but I thought we just had the assessors thing. So that's why when I caught part of the pilot agreement, I signed on. I had trouble getting in, so I'll wait until
We're almost
you can
there.
ask questions, okay?
Yes. And I did inform the chairman that you had comments regarding the pilot agreement.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So the next agenda item is from the Dayton Police Department surplus cruisers, a 2011 Ford Crown Victoria, black and white, and a 2010 Ford Grid Town. Apparently, we received this letter back on February 24th, I guess, 2021.
Find where it was ever voted on, so
Okay.
we decided to do it.
Sure, it makes sense.
Just to be safe.
Just
I
to
think
be,
we did,
just to
but
be
I'll
legal.
accept this.
To the Board of Selectmen,
Hey, if we can't find it.
I, Chief Robert L. McDonald, am asking for permission from the Board of Selectmen to take the following cruisers out of commission. The cruisers are cruiser number 2, 2011 Ford Crown Victoria, black and white. Don't need to read the VIN number. In cruiser 3, 2010 Ford Crown Victoria, black and white. These cruisers listed are no longer reliable and no longer fit the needs of the department due to the age, mileage, and projected repair costs. Proper disposal will be at the discretion of the board.
Are we taking them offline, or are we declaring them surplus property?
Sorry.
I think we're doing both. We're taking it
Yes.
offline, and we're going to declare, hopefully, that they're surplus property, and then they're going to be auctioned off.
Yeah, Mr. Aguirre will.
Yeah.
He said they bring in big money.
Yeah.
May I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely.
Lieutenant Cronin, sorry to put you on the spot. Are there any Crown Vics left after these, if they're declared surplus, or are these the last of the Mohicans here? That's it? Okay, wow.
Wow.
That fuel-efficient vehicle policy,
I will entertain,
right? Because these would have, in the past, they may have been gifted to other departments.
yeah, but now they can't, yeah. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we put the following cruisers, we declare, the following Cruiser 2 and Cruiser 3 as surplus as listed on the, as prepared this evening,
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, I'll ask for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Selectman Segravas?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye.
And I did just want to add, I made a slight comment that they can't go to other departments, but we're not losing anything because these will be sold at an auction and the money will be put back into the general fund. Thank you.
Under correspondence, the first letter is from Assistant Program Manager Sheila New at the Dayton Council on Aging. We are pleased to inform you that Primetime has received a donation in the amount of $30. As usual, all donations are turned over to the town accountant and deposited in the Primetime gift and donations account. Should you have any questions or need additional information, please do not hesitate to call. I will entertain a motion to accept that donation.
So moved. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, who made the motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, Selectman Hull, how do you
Aye.
vote? Selectman Segravas?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. The next correspondence is Good Morning Board. The family of the late Mark S. Rhines would like to take this opportunity to thank the employees of Dayton for their generous donations to the Dayton Ambulance Fund in Mark's honor. Not only did these fine people look after Mark, but also our late mother, Irene F. Rhines. This donation is in Mark's name will help someone else who may be in need of these important services. Thank you, Michael, Kevin, Kenneth, and Timothy Rhines. I will entertain a motion to approve this. Do we need it to?
No, we'll acknowledge it. Mr.
Yes, to
Chairman,
acknowledge
I
this
motion that we acknowledge the letter from the Planning Board Chairman, Mr. Timothy Rhines, with thanks and appreciation for all that he and his family have done and continue to do for the town of Dayton.
Second.
Second. My only comment is that they've had a difficult time, the Rhines family, so it's been a tough year for them. Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Selectman Segravas?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. The next correspondence is to the Board of Selectmen members. It is with a heavy heart that the purpose of this letter is to give my resignation as appointed member of the Dayton Board of Health effective October 31st, 2021. Please know that this decision was a very difficult one to make. I value the time I have spent on the board, and I am grateful for the continued support since the Board of Health was separated from the Board of Selectmen. I wish nothing but the best for the Board of Health and the town of Dayton, and hope that my tenure has and will continue to make positive impact on the town and office. Signed, Matthew Tanis.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the resignation letter of Matthew Tanis with thanks and appreciation for his service.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Just want to comment, he's done a great job. He was a great asset to the Board of Health, and I'm sure he's going to be missed. His knowledge in that field is amazing, as we've seen in meetings.
May I make one comment as well?
Yes, sure.
Mr. Tanis, because of his health agent expertise, he does that for a living. He's a public health agent. His knowledge and his commitment to the town allowed the Board of Selectmen to efficiently split from the Board of Health, so they became two separate entities, but that only would have been possible with people who were knowledgeable in the field, like Mr. Tanis. He has given to the town in other capacities, fire department, former selectmen, so I just want to thank you, Mr. Tanis, for all that you give to the town and have given to the town, and you will be very missed, and we appreciate all that you've done.
I'm going to call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Selectman Segravas?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. The next correspondence, hello, Mike and Karen. Please provide this correspondence to the Select Board. Please accept this letter as my formal resignation from my appointment of Associate Conservation Commission member and Cannabis Policy Advisory Board member, effective October 29, 2021. As for my 2 additional appointments with the Board of Health, I wish to continue. However, I will not be seeking reappointment next year. Thank you, Kevin Bernardo. It's going to be another loss for the town. I will entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion.
I was going to step down.
No. I
He
would
can't-
like to
he
make
can't
a
resign.
motion to accept the resignation of Kevin Bernardo from the Conservation Commission and Cannabis Policy Advisory Board with sincere thanks and appreciation.
Is there a second? Again, I'll say what I said before. It's a great loss to the town of Dayton that we're losing these people. It's a very valuable board. I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Selectman Segravas?
Aye.
And Campuchico is also an aye. Minutes. I will entertain a motion to set for review the Board of Selectmen's regular meeting minutes of October 13, 2021, February 3rd, 2021, and February 17, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Selectman Segravas?
Aye.
And Campuchico was an aye. The next 4 minutes, there's been no changes since we just received those. There's been no changes in the okay. I'll ask for a motion. Thank you. I'll ask for a motion for the approval of the Board of Selectmen's regular meeting minutes of September 29, 2021, and also the Board of Selectmen's special meeting minutes of June 28, 2021, July 10, 2021, and September 9, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second? Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Selectman Segravas?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. Approval of the warrants. Do you have that? Were you given that information?
I do, sir. Bear with me just a moment. Mr. Chairman, I motion that the Board of Selectmen approve the following warrants, all dated October 20th, 2021. Warrant 16A-22 in the amount of $105,016.05, and warrant 16B-22 in the amount of $299,500.
Thank you.
Thank you. $549.57. And one more time, that's $299,549.57.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Selectman Segravas?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye.
Mr. Chairman, there are no warrants for this evening, so I believe we will do them at the first meeting in November.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Goulart has the public input.
Mm-hmm.
Did I skip public input? Yeah.
No,
No,
it's
it was
right now.
next. Okay,
Yep.
but I was
You're
going to
right on
skip it.
time.
No, I was going to skip it because I
You
was
were
going
trying.
to the executive
We're not
session.
going to let you.
Mrs. Goulart, did you have public input?
When I came home, I tried to sign in and I missed part of it, so I put the TV on. You were discussing, the pilot agreement for Richmond Hill, I believe.
Yes.
The one that I'm gonna recommend that it be approved. And I didn't hear all of the comments, but I did hear something about, I believe it was real estate and personal property, and Mr. Hull said something about the dollar amount. So because I didn't know it, I don't know if there's something I need to clarify.
Well, there were a couple of things. One, at the last meeting, you had mentioned both, I believe, $600,000+ for the overall, and I believe the first installment was like 60 some odd thousand. And I had said that I was hoping that at town meeting, you were going to mention those numbers. And the reason being, I had received feedback, people wanted to know, how much money are we getting? You know, it's great, we're gonna approve something, but how much money are we getting for this approval? The second.
It is, I don't have that DG Dayton thing in front of me, but, it is in excess of, $600,000. It's a 15-year payment plan, and because they're front-end loaded, I said the first year's payment was, again, I'll have the exact numbers, 60-odd some thousand, and I think the last payment is like 9,000 and change. So I will have that information there, yes.
And then the second thing that I said, and I referenced it by saying, correct me if I'm wrong. So correct me if I'm wrong, Mrs. Goulart. I was wondering if the pilot agreement includes or does not include personal property tax on the solar panels, if you will.
Pilot agreement, when the company that is asking for the pilot agreement does not own the land on which the panels sit, which is this case, the pilot agreement only covers personal property, and the personal property are the panels and all of the wires and all that other stuff that together makes the solar farm. Now, the real estate on which those panels sit, that was chapter land. It came out of chapter, which means at the time they were probably paying half the regular tax rate. So the town was given the option to exercise its right to buy it, and the town said, nope, not interested. So it came out of chapter, and it is taxed as commercial property. So the town bills the property owner separately for real estate taxes, and the company will pay for the personal property through the pilot agreement.
So we're going to be getting actually more money than those two figures that you mentioned, is that correct?
Yes, because when we set the tax rate at the hearing that will be coming up, and I realize this is the first time you're gonna do that, but there's gonna be a public hearing, and the Board of Selectmen will have an option, several options. They'll listen to the presentation from the Board of Assessors, and then they will make a determination on what the tax rate will be for residents and for commercial. And when that commercial rate is set, that's what the property owner, where those panels are located, is going to be taxed. That is not part of the pilot. So each year, when you set the tax rate, depending upon whether it goes up or down, that determines the rate of taxes on commercial property, because that is commercial.
In an effort to sell this at town meeting, could you also mention that aspect of it too? Because the
Oh, certainly. I mean, Mr. Hull, it's kind of funny. The first time pilot agreements came up was back in the old days. There were 3 on the warrant that night, and the first one I presented practically no questions at all. That's the smallest one we have, and that was our first one. The other 2 are the 2 that I recommended being tabled. And the one we're going to have before us on Monday night is one of the ones that got tabled, okay? And they were tabled because the proponent had included real estate taxes. And Dr. Z will remember the night we went around and around on that. And the proponent would not strike all reference to real estate taxes from it. And we said there's no way that we can present this because you've included real estate taxes. They're not part of a pilot agreement. I did leave with Karen the full context of Judge McGuire's decision, and I'm sure she can share a copy with you, because he specifically talks about how real estate cannot be included in a pilot agreement if the company that's proposing the solar farm doesn't own the land. So, so anyhow, yes, I had explained this, but the funny thing is, I think it was the next meeting after that when I proposed a couple of solar farms. They asked me how much money, and I said it, boom, that one got approved. The next one came up, there were no questions. So I never know exactly what they're gonna ask. I will have that information with me. I mean, it's, but again, yes, you are correct. There are taxes that the town will collect that are in excess of a pilot agreement because they're real estate. And I've mentioned this to Chairman Pacheco, and soon, probably, hopefully at the next town meeting, the voters are going to have to decide how the money from pilot agreements is going to be handled. Now, the Department of Revenue has issued a few directives as far as how it's to be handled. First, it was going to be, I think it was on the personal properties. Now they're saying it's going to be coming in as, on the sheet as estimated receipts, which is easier. But what you're going to have to determine is how that money is going to be, I'm going to gonna say earmarked, for lack of a better term. Personal opinion, it should not be used for operating, because eventually it's gonna go away. And if you use it to fund operating, and it goes away, all of a sudden, you're at a high level, you don't have funding, so it would be reflected in the tax rate. So fortunately, we have capital accounts that certainly could be looked at, but this is something that's down the road, but you're gonna have to put some thought into it. And when we get all the directives from the Department of Revenue, we can advise you accordingly.
One of the things that I'm concerned about from feedback that I have received from the public is that the difficulties that we have had with one particular company, solar project in particular, have turned off some people about the other solar projects. And the one we're talking about now has had great success and great relationship with the town. So.
Well, no, no, that's not true.
It hasn't been.
The one that's coming forward is, as I said, was one of the ones that got tabled. And we told him that, look, we're willing to have a pilot agreement, strike all reference to real estate, we'll sit down and talk. And so we did sit down and talk, and it's where we are now, so we can present it. The one we have problems, the one we are having problems with, it's not due to a pilot agreement. The reason why I'm going to recommend that one be tabled is because I don't have an accurate list of the equipment. I need an inventory list as part of the pilot agreement. Once the planning board makes its final determination and that's settled, Stormwater's going to take one more look and say, do we have to do anything? We only have one question. It deals with location of panels in the basin. That's all going to get worked out. And once that happens, then I can say to the solar company, now put that inventory together and send it to me. I suggested to them and they agreed. We're not ready to take this to town meeting because I need an inventory list. And until we hear from the planning board and it's resolved, then it's not a problem. I'm the one that deals with this on both ends, both stormwater and pilot agreements. And if I truly thought it's time to throw in the towel and say, no pilot agreement, just do your solar thing and this isn't going to happen. A pilot agreement is a benefit to the town and to the developer because we determine ahead of time how much money the tax is going to amount to. We determine if it's they want 15 years or 20 years. 20 years is pretty our max. But because we front load them, we get sizable amounts of tax money ahead of the time. If they don't have a pilot agreement, each year they'll get a tax bill, and each year if they want, they can appeal what their valuation is, and on and on and on. That's time consuming and it's costly to the town. That's why the Department of Revenue looks and recommends, I think as Attorney Gay said at the last meeting, that when you're dealing with solar farms, the pilot agreement is the best way to go because the town knows what kind of money they're going to get, and the owner of the property, the solar farm, knows what kind of money they're going to have each year to pay the town of Dayton. And I will just add, since solar farms quite often get sold, the pilot agreement is binding on whoever owns it. And so if DG Dayton owns it for 5 years, pays their taxes, and they sell it to XYZ somebody, XYZ is going to pick up on the 6th year, and as long as they own it, they're going to have to pay at the rate that's already been negotiated. So that's another thing that is good for financial planning for the town. But I think people, things can be aggravating, and I won't go into detail, but I think Mrs. Brady and I can tell you we got pretty aggravated on some issues that we've been dealing with, but they're not reasons not to pursue this. And I, quite frankly, because I'm on both sides of the one that's, we've done a lot of work on. I'm not ready to throw in the towel. I'm ready to wait to hear what the planning board says. We get a site visit coming up next week. We'll go out there and find out whatever. Planning board will make their decision. Stormwater will see if there's anything for us to do. And then I can get back to the person I'm dealing with at that company and say, okay, pilot agreement is in this rough form, because it's boilerplate, we're not negotiating from day one, and give me that inventory list that I need. And so, you know, no, I'm not ready to throw in the towel. I think there's still benefit for the town of Dayton. And I will also tell you, as long as that thing is in existence, or any solar farm is in existence, the Stormwater Committee has oversight, as does the fire chief, the building commissioner, and at certain points, the highway superintendent. And so rest assured, when this gets approved, it's not like it's all done and nobody's watching, because that's not the case.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Is there any other public input? If not, I'll ask for a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we enter into executive session under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Number 1, as listed on the agenda this evening, and Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Number 7, as listed on the agenda this evening.
Second?
We will not be going back into session after we complete the executive session. I'll call for a vote. Roll call. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Selectman Socrates?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. Good night, everybody. Have a safe Halloween. Hopefully, everybody gets electricity by tomorrow.